We've got one last matchup to cap off our Saturday night here on OWCS. It's Extinction versus Spacestation Gaming. And for SSG, this has been a huge turnaround stage for them. We've always had high expectations for this team, but it feels like heading into the dive meta, Mitch, they've really found their footing, have really locked in on their team synergy as well, and have turned over a new leaf.
Yeah, look, I think this team is obviously, as Rupal mentioned earlier, making the most of this sort of meta game, right? It's nice to see Hawk come back, obviously, for this stage, play some pretty classic looks. Lenny, obviously, showing us a lot of that Reaper sort of play here. They're pretty unique, I think, to what we saw in the previous series in terms of the kind of stuff that they play. But this team's looking really, really solid. Obviously, bringing Chronic onto this roster, I think, has served them very well. Having like that dominant hit scan player to replace the previous outgoing players is very, very good. So, look, I'm looking forward to this team. I think there's some questions that need to be answered about SSG and how they sort of match up against some of our top teams. I don't think that's going to be answered today. I think that's going to be answered probably next week when they have to go up against GK.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's fun to watch Hawk play again, right? He was a player that historically in Overwatch Esports, it's always fun to watch him play in like the off tank roles, and obviously now in a different world in Overwatch 2, seeing him kind of come back, just slide on in. I mean, Ash, this is a player, he's been gone for ages, and it feels like he's just kind of come back on in and picked up where he left off. And also see him combined with like Sugar Free and Chronic, CJ as well. Yeah, I think this is a really strong roster. I think to Mitch's point, it's like, how do they kind of contend with the top? I honestly think if for them, like, they have time, even in that GK match. Like, I think this is a team that's like, okay, like, let's get everything set going into the playoffs. I'm not exactly sure they're really worried about their regular season performance, Ash.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, also maybe an opportunity to try certain things out that maybe they want to test up against GK heading into next weekend here as well. But for their opponents on the side of Extinction, this is a team that has only been able to find a win up against Still Ducks, and it's definitely a David and Goliath storyline here. I think for me, Mitch, you look at maybe potential conditions that they could move towards to find success in some of their goals in this matchup up against SSG. Some of them being the fact that like Hawk is this great off tank, but it does make it a little bit easier to ban out against him. Is there anything else you think that they could look towards to maybe just take away even as like learning or practice?
Yeah, I think this team has top flight DPS players, honestly. Yep. I think King and Vision are really, really good. Alongside like the rest of this roster, I think that we're starting to get to the point where many of these Extinction players are building up to that critical massive experience. I think that it takes to not only just be, constantly in the mix here in NA, but start to reach a little bit higher. For them, this is an important learning experience, and we're not trying to downplay the importance of this game. I think Extinction, in the back of their mind, are thinking about that matchup against Team Z and saying, if we want to avoid relegation, we must win that game. These kind of games can forge you into the kind of team to take it up a level, which is what they're going to need to do pretty soon. And again, I do think that, the brightest point of this team is the DPS combo. Vision and King. King with a lot of flexibility as well, someone who's been around for quite some time. They are up. I mean, it's tough to beat the veterancy of Hawk, who's literally been in the game for almost as long as I can remember, but I think that's where they need to go toe-to-toe at DPS here. And I'd like to see, it doesn't matter what strategy they have, because it's tough to play around Hawk's approaches, right? They like the more ground-born stuff. Hawk's always been more of, like we've seen the Hog, maybe even Desire from him a little bit more, a couple of those picks. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Try and have a comp that works in a dive scenario, a comp that works in a rush scenario. Refine both of those approaches and make sure you set up for your DPS to shine.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting into our last matchup of today here. Let's get straight into it. It's going to be Extinction versus SSG.
All right, let's get this one started, folks. Obviously, for SSG, they're in a position now where, they're sitting top 3 pretty comfortably. Yeah. Top 2, though, is a little bit trickier. It's possible, right? I mean, SSG, towards the end of this stage, they have to play GK next week. So that's probably the matchup that sort of ends up deciding where they are.
Right, I was going to say, it's not tricky. They just need to beat GK.
It's the beating of DK that's tricky at all, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, fine. It's beating it, but it's not like they kind of need to beat GK, need a bunch of other losses. Yeah. For me, Extinction, for them to like kind of hang and keep this series close, I'm looking at like their support line, right? Like I think SSG is going to put a lot of pressure on them and like how they kind of hold up. Because he mentioned, DPS line, we've seen them perform against top players in the past at a pretty respectable level. Hitori, she's been in the OWCS in numerous fashions, numerous different teams, right? And has played pretty well against top opponents. It's like, can they kind of keep that support line alive? And if they do, like maybe it starts to get a little bit interesting.
Like the bans are interesting, right? Straight away, Lenny's Winston. Lenny's Reaper. Taken away.
But Lenny's Winston would be okay. Hey, you must know something, a little change here that we don't know about.
Listen, if LeBron needs to play a different position, I assume that's a thing in basketball, right? They got they to me all look like they do the same thing.
Wait, what?
After the ball.
Yeah, okay.
Basketball.
But
if LeBron had to play point guard, right, then he probably could. You know
did you just did you just chat GPT positions in basketball? Is that what you just
I don't know any of the others. I don't know any of the others, dude. I just remember that one. That's a good position to play, right? You're a point guard, weren't you, Matt?
Yeah, because I was really tiny, but like,
so LeBron wouldn't do that.
No,
you know what?
he wouldn't do that.
Okay. but if he had to, he could, and that's what Sugar Free will do. What needs to be done? He's the get in, clock in, clock out, shoulder the pickaxe, chop wood, carry water, honest Overwatch player. Will do what needs to be done in the absence of his Reaper. Hitori had her Winston banned away, so that's something to bear in mind. It's going to be Ramatra by the looks of things out for Extinction, and Hawk will be on the Zarya. It's a classic look. We've seen it for years.
And we'll see if Hitori, right? She needs to kind of stay alive when the shield is gone, and kind of like the ramping damage and kind of the pressure coming in, right? With the Lucio kind of speeding Hawk directly past that shield. Can you keep this Ram alive? I actually think without the Reaper, it's actually a much easier situation for Extinction to play from.
Alba here, a little bit out of the action, made their way all the way behind the lineup here for Spacestation Gaming.
That's a nice
break here in Hawk's direction. Vision a little bit low though. Towards the edges of the map Spacestation play. Maybe having to bait something in. Hitori is taken down first, so Ramatra just burst away, and now Spacestation can step forward.
It almost seemed like a little bit of a bait there, right? Where Space Station, it's actually a nice boot by Alba, pushing like Hawk into this position over on the side. And I think Extinction decides like, okay, like we can kind of go, maybe take advantage. And I think that's exactly what SSG want to bait them into. So Extinction actually did get the point there for like 5%, which is like really rare that it's like that low in terms of like a first point cap and then a flip. So they get it for a brief bit, and then they give it back up to SSG. As looks like we got a quick pause.
Okay. I mean, that was obviously a fight one with Alba Hitori getting taken down, and then it was like a full disengage. But Hawk's been vomiting damage already over the course of that sort of first fight. Already over 1,000, already halfway, of course, towards that Graviton surge here. So that's something that like the Ramatra kind of has to play around. There's no easy way to play into the Zarya. You have to play in the windows of the bubbles. You have to try and pressure past the Ramatra, but past the Zarya, excuse me. But you notice how SSG like moved to play the outside of the map for a while, trying to tease maybe the Ramatra to come through, punishing the choke, which they were able to do. It's risky business up against Lucio. And something happened there. I think Lep and Alba are like fighting. They're like in a death spiral out off the edge of the map, like fighting while wall riding. And Lep obviously wins that out and has to climb up, like it's the Balrog's pit he's trying to get from. But very, very weird little first pass.
Hunting for clips there on the outside. That's all Lucio's do. No, I'm kidding. But looks like we'll be able to get back into this one in just a little bit. But yeah, that first fight, it seemed like Alba got a boop, knocked some of those players to the outside, but that's kind of seems where SSG wanted to play from. And then Hitori, she kind of makes the right move, kind of pushes up, tries to like put some pressure on a Hawk, but Hawk kind of playing in that close quarter area with those bubbles, being able to just kind of turn that damage back into offense, and you end up losing your Ramatra and Lucio, and then the point just flips.
So what position does LeBron play then?
Well, okay. I mean, if this is like a serious conversation, so you play a little bit of like you can play some point forward, right? You can play him at the point forward, so you can be a forward who also brings the ball up, handles the ball. As he's gotten older, he's kind of moved into like the power forward like position, right? Obviously, I am not an athlete, so me judging LeBron's athleticism is not something that should ever be, but he's a little older, right? So he can't maybe run, jump as high. So
okay,
he's got to play a little bit more, kind of back to the basket, a little old school ball, a little bully ball, right?
All right. While I ask Matt about if there's any power backs in the game, let's talk about... actually, we had a chance to have a quick shout out very quickly.
Yeah. Let's talk about the game.
Yeah.
This game.
Let's get in. Power forward. All right. And power score? Whatever. Anyway, Alba taking down Chronic. They're able to light him up to... I don't know, bro. It doesn't make any sense. It's not intuitive, really. No Lucio here for Extinction is the point. Keep an eye on that health bar of the Ramatra. That's been a pain point for an Extinction over the course of that first fight. And Vision is really... I mean, the entirety of Extinction forced out of the map there with the loss of that initial player.
And I think this will be really difficult for Extinction to kind of like battle through some of these like chokes areas, right? Especially now, kind of with this Kitsune rush, as you end up losing Vision. I mean, that's a large source of damage here. It's going to be the Kitsune rush here from Scuffed as well, as like you kind of just have both of them laid out over the point. Obviously, SSG getting the better of it.
So Hawk looking like a power forward out there, just slamming it down. Nicely done, hitting the alley-oop denies and getting buckets everywhere. And has a Graviton Surge ready. So can Kobe that across the map, you know what I'm saying? Sugar Free also with a Pulse Bomb. That obviously represents a pretty powerful combination, but does not have to be used in that manner. Extinction have really been forced in some weird corners of the map here in disengaging away from Space Station when they have their power play moments. Hitori, she's just getting sick of this. She wants to shove forward, but again, the damage that comes back her way is immense.
Yeah, oh, and that's a grab. It's going to be a Pulse Bomb inside of it. Everybody just gets chewed up.
Okay, I mean, that's brutal. There's not really much coming back from that one. Extinction are having, I think, an issue just dealing with how much frontline damage is sort of in play and not taking enough of attention away from Extinction CPS, for example, Space Station CPS, to sort of mitigate that at all. CJ just flattens Vision. They try and come back in on the Tracer. Lep holding a sound barrier for Overwatch 3 at this stage. Doesn't really need to make use of it here, but Hawk is a little low. Might have hoped to catch the Zaya in LOS for a beat there, but Space Station not forcing the issue. It's a sim wall also committed to this effect, so fight they're happy just to let go.
Well, I think they're actually kind of assuming that Alba actually had beat on the other side, so maybe saving beat for beat, not just using the beat to save Hawk. What they obviously didn't know is Alba didn't have the sound barrier at that moment at the start, as Hawk will come back on the Doomfist here, trying to make a quick play for the point.
Now, sound barrier here. Alongside this Annihilation, do give Extinction some angles to play from. Hawk on the Doomfist, though, is interesting. Naturally, wants to try and, I think, avoid Ramatra for the most part and start to really go after Kiriko, force out some of those swift steps. Sound barrier for that means that Hawk could probably stay in these fights a little bit longer. Kitsune Rush amazing for rotating those Doomfist cooldowns. And so this initial alpha damage being taken by Space Station Gaming, they want to try and stave that off, and they get a Kitsune Rush in play probably for that throughput increase. Let CJ throw more of those Opida in. Space Station haven't quite found their way in yet, but Hawk wants to step up, take the fight. Immediately, though, runs into King, who's pretty charged.
I was going to say, though, Mitch, I mean, this can kind of start to go a little bit sideways here for SSG, right? It's taking a little bit of time. You're on this Doom, which isn't ideal, right? Potentially into this Ramatra. Now you've lost CJ. You're going to have double support ult here for Extinction. So this is one that they can actually come back here and steal, which would be massive.
Back to the Mega for Hawk. Now realizing there's going to be a chase here, and there's not really anything that he could do about it. So flatten out of this one. We see a switch back maybe in the Zaya direction, because it definitely it feels like
but
the Doom switch.
It's so late though, right? I mean, you're what? You're going to go to Zarya here for a final fight with no, ult charge or anything. So now you've knocked Chronic off the side. This is, I mean, this is just SSG just fumbling it.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, they stick to the Doomfist. They make a choice to switch off it, and they let a fight go through. Now, Sound Barrier's got to be matched. There's a chance for SSG to bring the round back. Hawk, though, on the Doomfist looks less than comfortable out there. Chronic, though, has an overclock, but this sim war's going to be a bit of an issue in terms of the win condition being met by the Sojourn. Vision, though, a lot of scrutiny. Sugar Free trying to get in there and keep the Sojourn with their head turned in the wrong direction. Hawk drops in and is greeted with a railgun headshot. That is going to take him out of the game virtually instantly. Chronic eventually did find that overclock, but in terms of sightlines, not so much there. Alberto is handled. Now it's a player advantage for SSG. Vision hopes to make use of these sim turrets to stay unpredictable, but a Kitsune Rush is going to be committed. So even in the absence of the Doomfist, Space Station Gaming, well, they make their own luck, and they'll take this first round.
And Mitch, that is a round, though, that, like, for Extinction in this type of series, they must win. Like, they are... they battled back in that round, right? SSG's on a comp that doesn't exactly look great. Hawk going to the Doom a little bit. Post switching to the Zarya. Looked like he was just doing it to get a touch because he's going to go back to Zarya now. and you get off to a pretty good start in that final fight, and you're just not able to put it away. I mean, that's the difference between a series like this being close and competitive like all throughout, right? Winning scenarios like that where you're just kind of given a pretty large advantage, and not winning the series. I mean,
Hawk's player title is sending me
66 enthusiasts.
He is like the most ardent
Yeah.
5v5 hater you've ever met. Like, I've had conversations with him that have gone for hours. He loves to talk about it. Just love it.
I love Dr. Hawk. It'd be,
he's great.
I feel like I haven't seen him in a while. It'd be great to see him in Stockholm.
He cares a lot about the game. That's what I appreciate about him. He's always very clear that he's got passion. And good to see him back. The Doomfist, though, could probably be shelved for a little bit, though, Xander. You know what I'm saying? Either way, here we go. Onto the point goes Sugar Free. Gets a Zarya bubble early on and a TP off the point for Extinction. Nicely done. This is the kind of look I want to see them throw in. And it's King that seems to start this kind of passage of play off. Scuff that was handled, and now Spacestation going to fall back. With left being as low as he is, they need to take a moment. And Chronic's made the switch now over to the Freya map.
Yeah, but look at Hattori. She moves up and controls this space, right? Just kind of blocking SSG from coming in. She's doing a fantastic job kind of playing from that position, which potentially could give Extinction the point here first.
Alpha's just been getting tracked by Hawk no matter which side of the wall he's on. And considering the position of Extinction, that's probably the one player you don't want to be losing at this point. How do you interact with the Freya? That's the question Vision has to answer. And unfortunately there, it's not a satisfactory response from the Sojourn. And so Sugar Free will do what he does best. Clean it up.
Yes, I mean, Sugar Free, one of the better tracers in the world. Like, when he's got to go, and he is so fun to watch, and allow him to just kind of, like, run rampant. I mean, that's what I was worried about. You were talking about how good, the damage dealers are potentially for Extinction, and how that could be, and just kind of making a fool of yourself, just shouting out just words that are associated with basketball. But I was worried about this.
Guard because he's, like, contesting?
No, he's not. He's most certainly not. I was worried about Extinction's backline, where you're kind of seeing... as the Tracer comes into play and SSG's ramping up the pace, that's starting to become apparent that they're targeting this Extinction backline pretty heavily.
Oh, jeez, look at how quickly those health bars drop down. Hattori, there's nothing really she can do about this. Her entire backline cut out from under her, and so she needs to beat a quick and hasty retreat. Hawk now wants to force the issue a little bit, give Space Station Gaming a little bit of a buffer, and again, use this Zarya to punish any play through the choke.
Right, I mean, now that you're gonna have this grab, right? We saw the pulse bomb being used with the last time. You got a bowl shot. Now you see look at Let over the coming over the high ground. It's gonna be a TP straight to the point. So a nice job there by King & Co. Kind of getting out of the way of that trap. It's gonna be a sound barrier that should keep everybody up. It's not. The damage comes in, and then the pulse bomb is enough when that sound barrier comes through. As Sugar Free just dominates it. Wait, they use the rush?
Yes!
Why?
They beat it and then rushed right away. How is it going to help you with burst damage?
Not ideal. Not ideal.
Maybe Scuff is hoping.
Ideal.
So maybe they're rushing because Scuff wants the cooldown reduction to have another Suzu to answer the pulse bomb blowing up, right? But that's such a random edge to try and
the beat comes in, and it's actually obviously mitigating a lot of damage early on. But like Hawk and Chronic putting down damage into that grab, and then the pulse bomb coming through is enough that the sound barrier is not doing anything at that point, right? Sound barrier just kind of is nowhere near, just kind of blows everybody up. Throughout all of that, somehow Extinction just in the next fight just comes back, flips the point. Like,
I like the swagger. Look at Hattori. I mean, she's got that annihilation in play, but it's a step too far. And so, I mean, I guess the rest of Extinction kind of pulled back towards the point a little bit. Fortunately, Vision and King can fight for themselves. So Hattori essentially just makes a ton of space for the rest of Extinction to fight on their own 2 feet on the point itself, which is going to get them close to being back even in this game. And Vision now wants to play the longest sideline because of this overclock.
Yeah, but think about the first round, Mitch, here, Unleashing Tower. Like, Extinction could have won that one. Now you're getting in a situation where the potentially could be, like, tied here, right? Potentially even taking the lead. It's going to be, it looks like Sugar Free get on the point here. He'll get a touch as TP from Extinction over to the side there, trying to catch some players off. But SSG has speed. They just kind of speed away from it.
I think they're looking for Chronic, but he's up on the high ground now in a pretty safe spot. However, a lot of damage being taken there by Hawk. So Kitsune Rush is going to be a prerequisite here. Hawk on the wrong side of the Ramatra as it appears, and Vision slides in, holding on to that overclock for a rainy day. It's time, though, to make it a deluge. Nice little passage of play from Extinction now with a real chance to take this round.
And they're going to have this Kitsune rush here and most likely end up with their sound barrier. So, like, if you see, I like this. They're actually going to go fast here with that Kitsune rush. They're going to get the Ramattra fighting inside of it. That's going to be the grab. Yeah, you'll have Chronic. He'll get on. He'll be able to get a touch here. Looks like you have 2 players. Oh, nice. Suzu actually prevents some of that bullet shot damage.
That's clutch. Chronic is hitting some unreal take aim shots here, though. Hitori very, very low, but now a symbol in play. Chronic's got to step on the other side of it. It's not a safe place to be at all. Big damage. Chronic drops below eye line and then gets back up. There's no healing at all for this Freya, and Hawk is picked off. What is going on? Chronic's still alive somehow as Lep is trying to get some amped healing, and it will be a sound barrier. Oh, no! He's hit the bloody Ajax. And Extinction are going to take their second round.
We've had a lot of entertainment here through first 2 rounds. But this could be a map that Extinction could have taken already, right? Like, with the way the first round went, obviously they take round 2. This one, obviously going to go down to the wire here, but this is one where, like I was talking about, where Extinction, maybe let that first round get away with you, and then all of a sudden now SSG takes the map because of it. But, really nice job playing around King Simwall there, allowing Alba to build up towards that beat, saving Hitori as she's fighting on the point, holding it strong as the Ramattra. So they tie it up.
I think I'm ready to, revise my opinion a little bit of how competitive this game would be, because that is not Extinction winning the round because of an egregious throw. That sound barrier it doesn't matter. They're going to lose a round there anyway. It's a great push up for Extinction. They force a grab. They're still able to fight. It's just excellent. And again, I'm just really impressed by what Vision's been able to do in some of these fights. The sim play also from King. Great walls over their previous game. Spacestation are going to have to work for this. They are going to have to earn this dub.
Hitori, she's been able to create so much space for this team. I mean, look at the point already. Just kind of push them off. Viju ends up getting a kill here. Nemesis form pop by Hitori. So she's trying to just get a little bit more armor, a little bit more staying power on the objective.
Oh, dude, that is big damage from Chronic. Nice to disrupt the shot. Yeah, at that point, Extinction have pretty nowhere else to go. Very much caught inside of it all. That's no perk with the slowing of the disruptor shot. That's a fun perk, but most slow gens are still very classic in their approach. The extra mobility plus the extra overclock capacity. That's a great fight there for SSG. Winning in the neutral was some great poke here from Chronic.
So I don't think Extinction will make any changes. I think they're going to try and just use this TP to get across and just kind of fight on the objective. I think that's kind of been their key, right? Just kind of, they were trying to avoid this Zarya circumvent. Yep, here's going to be the TP straight across. It's going to fight on the objective now. Get the sim kind of all set up with the TP, the turrets here on the point.
Alba picked off. It's another disruptor shot here that just is a problem for Extinction. They get themselves on the point and then TP off of it. They want to play at the longer sight line, but Spacestation can still make use of this cover on the point, and they are no closer, Extinction, to their objective in winning this round.
No, they've been able to kind of like linger around here though. Tori, she's still putting some damage down on the point, and you're going to get Alba back in the fight. So everybody back at full strength.
Now those turrets tickling at Chronic now. It's going to be a Kitsune rush from Scuff. CJ getting pretty close to his as well. TP forward. Oh my goodness. Vision wants to get up there. Chronic gets picked off, and now Hitori straight through the TP very deep. And that is not something the SSG can respond to. But likely a fight they're happy to let go with both support ultimates and grab coming up in the next one. Extinction had to only spend a Kitsune rush for it. And now they've got some better sidelines to work with, at least to punish.
Extinction's going to need to figure out how to, win this next fight or draw it out to get it closer to a tie game, right? Because double support ult grab overclock. I mean, SSG just has everything to work with. I think the only kind of benefit here for Extinction is like, can you kind of make it costly in terms of HP pool, just kind of getting closer to the point, right? Not a ton of mobility, just that Lucio speed boost here. Getting Hawk closer towards the objective. Going to have to deal with these sim turrets right away.
Here's that sim all in play. That's something Hawk has to respect. Going to try and grab it in the middle and hope there's enough damage on either side. She just pops the Annihilation. Easy done. So that is a Kitsune rush that goes for nothing. Sound barrier at least still being maintained by Leopard. Spacestation need Chronic here to find some key picks. They're being looked at, and for the most part, well, Extinction were staying safe until King caught a wayward overclock shot. Now Sound Barrier though comes in. Scuff deals with Sugar Free instantly, and Chronic is not feeling comfortable at all. And why would
this
you?
Is good for
back
Extinction.
Behind the bulky body of Hawk, they're disengaging.
Yeah, I mean, a beat invested there by Lep. Alba's going to end up using it as well. You're going to have an advantage here in terms of Kitsune rush for Extinction. Oh, they lose Alba, and they're going to end up dropping the rush here, trying to fight close, at least buy some time for their Lucio to get back in the fight as Sugar Free now over to the Pharah.
Yeah, this is an interesting look, and of course there is an element of risk by playing this against the Sojo, and it's the same we've seen over in the EU at times. Spacestation Gaming, though, still have to answer the question of how they unravel the Ramatra and take this point control.
Having the overclock, though, it might be a little bit easier to deal with this Pharah, right? I know being able to just kind of like burn a few rails right directly into the Pharah as they're trying to put some pressure on the Hawk.
So far, trying to burn bubbles on Messiah by the looks of things, and Hawk has to disengage for a time, but it's going to be Chronic with a rail of his own. Good catch. There's Vision doubling down. Both supports dead in his hand, and he'll find a third. Chronic dominated. Extinction, just the better team by far on this particular round. Spacestation Gaming looking disarray, but Hawk, what a clutch. How is he hanging on? This is ridiculous. Sugar Free pushes up, gets rid of Albert, and just as it looked like the round will be over, Hawk finds an insane sequence of kills.
I mean, they're never able to deal with that Pharah. Sugar Free, just the damage over time. It'll just kind of pump it out, and then just that the situation there. Well, Vision with like 3 kills. I mean, a 6-star. Now you've lost Scuff. So it's going to buy some even more time here as one of those new perks able to kind of see through the walls here. Sugar Free just getting a brief moment of visibility, and now Hawk finds one as well. So now you're kind of bullying them back to the spawn.
Sugar Free, what a place to make use of it too. Give it the bubble, given the Susie by the looks of things, and yeah, that's more than enough at least to secure that individual kill. Hawk confident, pushing up. Kasuna Rush in the base of Extinction now. This is what Extinction tried to do to Spacestation Gaming in the previous round.
But if King can get a touch, you're going to hit double support ult coming back. You're going to have Annihilation as well. Oh, you're going to lose the Tori. That's huge. She's massive.
Yeah, the grab is just big from Hawk. The timing of it is perfect now. It's going to force Extinction to be staggered for the entirety of this contest. And just as it looked as though they were about to win the round, Hawk finds multiple kills and puts Spacestation Gaming back in the map. It was harder for them than I thought it would be. Frankly, we've seen from Extinction what I would have maybe hoped to see from some of the other teams here higher up in rankings. But this is great. This is a competitive first map.
I mean, just a wild first map between these two teams. Had a little bit of everything where, look, if you're Extinction, you got to be like, hey, we can hang in this match. I mean, most certainly, like, we can definitely put up a fight.
I mean, some of these individuals on the side of SSG, though, kind of blowing my mind. 16k damage from Chronic, almost 20 from Hawk, playing super aggressively. And something I liked about Hawk is that he took the perk that on right clicks, it sort of gives you some charge. So he was actually good maintaining like a good average level of charge, like at least 40 in between fights when normally you lose much of that energy. He was able to stay pretty topped up and basically always be hitting very, very hard. That's a nice look here, but man, it was a little closer, I think, than SSG would have liked it to have been, Matt.
Oh, without question. I mean, if you're SSG, I mean, you see here, the pulse bomb comes in. I mean, just absolutely eviscerates everybody as it's a little bit of a 5k there from Sugar Free. But this is much closer than I think SSG would have expected or wanted to see, right? Extinction obviously comes out, plays pretty strong here early on. So now an Extinction map pick, like, I mean, dude, there's also a world where Extinction wins this first map, right? You kind of think about how that first round went. That is one that Extinction most certainly could have won. They end up taking round number 2. Could very well be a closer series than I think any of us could have imagined.
And I think it was Extinction getting 3-1 by Sakura that may be a little questionable on this team, right? I think if that game goes differently, Extinction are actually, fighting for 3-3 at this point. And at that point, I'm like, okay, we might have ourselves a game here. But yeah, I think that result caused me to maybe underrate them a little bit coming into this match, because so far I've been impressed. That I did say that I expected, their DPS to really pave the way, but it was a bit half-hearted. I was like, yeah, if they're going to find edges, it's going to be there. Not necessarily that I expected it to happen. Certainly not so early in this series. All I can hope for now is that the rest of these maps remain as competitive as Control was, because Extinction's fundamentals are very, very good.
Yes, completely agree, right? I think fundamentals there for Extinction. You see kind of the stats obviously leading the way in terms of healing for Extinction, but I know on the downside of damage in a massive way. I think that's also probably partially the Zarya in the mix, right? The Zarya versus the Ram, just a pretty big damage disparity between those two heroes in general. But like, Extinction should feel pretty good about how they played in map number 1. Now they get, like, obviously a map pick, they get banned. There's a world in which they kind of can start to swing the series maybe a little bit, try and tie it up.
Yeah, I think it's worth, looking a little bit closer at what the ban strategy may well be here. Hawks Zarya is probably something that needs to be examined, right? I think it was very difficult for Extinction to deal with. I just think if you're able to, it is a 3-rounder, right? But if you're able to put out 20k damage on that Zarya, and much of that unmitigated, right? Or the Ramatra's just sort of soaking it. That's definitely pretty scary. I'm enjoying the Vision Chronic matchup. I think that's actually a really solid head-to-head in terms of hit scan players. So that's something that I will be tracking over the course of the rest of this series. Now, of course, Cargo's here, folks, with a special delivery. You can win yourself a trip to the OWCS World Finals at DreamHack, delivered by DHL. All we're asking you to do is predict your Stage 3 champions from EMEA and NA for a chance to win a trip. You don't have to be right. That's the best part. And this is how Matt makes his money. Sometimes it's not about being right. It's just about opening your mouth and giving your opinion. That's all you have to do on this. So head over to esl.gg/DHL-OWCS. Put your preds in to give yourself a chance to win. We're all going to be out there in DreamHack. It's going to be a great time, and you don't want to miss it if you have the chance.
Real ones, though. Mitch is right, like twice a year. You know, or like, you know, the series is 2-1 or 2-0. He's like, oh, I think the team that's up is going to win. Big ball prediction there from like Mitch Leslie.
Yeah, look, sometimes you need the garbage time predictions, and you also need the slightly spicier ones.
What is your shirt today? I just realized. What is that? It's supposed to be like some kind of like artistic, design type of thing.
I don't know. I actually don't know what it is.
It's just a bunch of lines.
I just was like, I can't put a plain t-shirt on because like the contract I signed with the devil.
Right. Yeah.
Wear something ridiculous every time I get on camera. But I also was like, I just opened my closet and I was like, yeah. I haven't bought. I need to buy more clothes, bro. I'll be real with you. I don't know what I'm working with here.
Yeah, you open your closet and was like, what's the least aggressive thing I own? And you're like, you pull out that shirt. Yeah.
I mean, this is all like grays and stuff like that. I think that's what makes it so noticeable. Is it's not just completely egregious. But here we are. I'm wearing it. It's a little egregious, but that's for me an improvement. Watchpoint Gibraltar is going to be our next map pick here, chosen by Extinction. They're hoping for an improvement too, but honestly, it's just refinements that I want to see from them, because so far they've got game.
And I think this is interesting because you go to this map. Is there really a reason to even ban the Zarya here, right? Like, it's not a map like Gibraltar you're going to see like a ton of Zarya play. So you're doing this Extinction, probably assuming that Hawk picks up, whether it's like Winston Diva, right? And you get rid of the Kiri here early on. So maybe that for Extinction, like, do you want to play some Ana like in your back line? Something along those lines. Then SSG, they get rid of the Tracer, but this is a map that you would expect Sugar Free to be able to play some type of like Genji on, for instance.
And also King can play Genji. Yeah. So I'm sort of, I guess
it's gonna be a fun series.
Maybe SSG are hoping to leverage what they think could be a Genji gap here. Also, this is the kind of map where you can play Sim and also not necessarily work the Genji neither. Reaper, I guess, is something worth pointing out. Sugar Free's played so much Reaper recently, and that's obviously something that you can sort of look at in the ban strategy. Hawk's been playing a lot of Diva over the course of his career, so definitely going to find himself comfortable here. And against Hitori's Winston, there's a lot of edges that Diva can take in that matchup in the head-to-head. And the Chronic Hanzo, show me what you got.
Ooh, that would be quite fun here now, as a defense that has a Hanzo Reaper set up for SSG. We'll see CJ on the Booyong here early on. And for Extinction, I mean, look, playing the Ana Brig backline, right? That's kind of like a historical pick, especially with a Winston. We'll see what Vision and King decide to do, right? I assume this TP might just be a TP go across, but you see actually early on, they may not actually wanted to take that right away because there was a Sonic that came through from Chronic. So potentially trying to not have anybody be picked off as they going to go across. But we'll have a Hanzo mirror here, but King will play that Genji. So we talked about with the Tracer gone, he most certainly could do it. We thought Sugar Free would play the Genji potentially, but with Hitori going over towards the Winston, she trying to get some of that high ground control. Sugar Free going to try and blow her up with the Reaper.
I think both of these DPS are far more committal right now than Tracer is, especially because all of Tracer's perks basically exist to give her an infinite number of blinks right now. Both Sugar Free and King have to wager something if they want to gain value in these fights. They have to get aggressive and take some of these risks. Right now, King is hardly big. Okay, that is pretty nice. Bionode comes in over the top from Scuffed, and that is quickly going to send Spacestation Gaming scurrying. It's getting harder and harder for them to maintain this high ground position, and eventually Hawk is just ground down to a nerdy kind of flower. There'll be a lot of control here on this high ground for Extinction.
Yeah, you end up losing Alba here, and the payload not exactly making fast progress here through the underpass. So Hawk will be back in the action, but I know getting some of this high ground, it's a really nice bubble from Hitori. She's kind of protecting herself here while also taking some of that high ground control, kind of pushing out Chronic into an odd spot. But this is a pretty good start here for Extinction.
Now they've got that server room control. Spacestation Gaming's sort of slice of the pie real estate-wise is pretty limited, but Hitori's low. Nano Boost comes at a timely moment, but Hitori can still be burst down. She has to be careful and playing this high ground pretty safely. Waiting for a top up, but no, she can't make use of all of the Nano Boost duration, but it kept her alive, and she can still be relevant in the fight later on. Good looks here, rather, from Extinction, but now let's have a listen into their comms as they take this first checkpoint.
Support ult's really soon.
Yeah, King stick hard.
I got it, yeah. Okay.
It's fine, it's fine.
Support ult's really soon.
We can maybe rally close.
Yeah,
I rally for their beats, okay? I rally for their beats.
Come spaceship, I promise you, come spaceship. Shoot this diva.
Let's leave.
No Matrix, intake.
I got booped down, Alba. I can't be up there.
After rally.
I got booped down.
I'm fighting with the other.
We can already.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can walk Mega again.
Yeah, they Sonic
No one's
switch
on cart right now.
Diva top. Someone go cast.
I want to play with Blade. I can't.
Okay, I'm
Wait,
touching you.
I need help so bad.
Can you walk out?
Beep. I can chase the Blade if we live.
I'm chilling. I'm not chilling anymore. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm dead.
It's all
It's okay.
First stage is really fucked.
Yeah, there's 4 ults.
So much of the game plan from here on out for Spacestation is going to be to push up and get in Vision's face, thereby also leaving Chronic with a lot of space to work with. You can see a couple of headshots off the backside of that fight for the Hanzo. Still a pretty favorable look. Extinction can play the same way though. The strategy for them, they can use the Winston and the Genji to do exactly that same look, is pressure Chronic down, take Hanzo's incredible damage potential off the map early.
I'm worried now for Extinction, like how you gonna get control of Shuttle, right? SSG is now set up, kind of controlling some of this high ground, like you mentioned, trying to like block Vision in from getting in and getting great sight lines, and maybe it's King with this Blade.
Couple deflects there. Sound barrier comes out in response. King happy enough, I think, to have forced that ultimate out because he still has the high ground position. And he's paved the way for Hitori to set up shop on top of the shuttle. And with Sugar Free going down, Alba's able to get in there with a shield bash to take the Reaper out of the game. Hawk is sheepishly trying to get back to some form of safety, but there are very few of those havens remaining here for the defenders. Extinction once again surging up into this shuttle phase, pressuring as Sculptus gets a couple of shots into Chronic, forcing the Hanzo onto a safer line.
So now you have the ability for Hitori. Yes, she gets the benefits of the nano boost here, going over towards that high ground. Yeah, sure, Hawk takes out Vision, but you may end up actually losing a few players here. CJ actually just kind of has to double back to the spawn there with Lep, and just like that, that's the second checkpoint.
Yeah, it's such a textbook Winston dive that even if Hitori doesn't get all the kills, she makes so much space that it's impossible for Spacestation to contest that second checkpoint. And now we have a very healthy time bank for Extinction to look to finish the map.
Yes, I mean, dude, above 3 minutes, pretty good amount of time. You'll have a rally here for Extinction. So they have done a nice job kind of putting SSG on the back foot. So, I mean, after the first map, I was like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll get a close series, right? But you kind of never know as we move into some of these other game modes. But Extinction most certainly showing that they can hang with SSG right now.
Walk up on the corner. Here's that Dragon Strike now probably emerging from that right side room. Enough time though for Extinction to clear away from it, but they've given up that corner position. They've got to retake that now by force. And Sugar Free was trying to play the high ground for a moment. It's actually a lot of action going on up there as Vision is about to discover, or perhaps that's why he's looking up here like this. Catches the Lucio with a Sonic, actually annoying for the Lucio player, and Hitori gets in there with a Primal Rage. You've got to respect the knockback potential, and there's a lot of it here between the Wuyong and the Lucio, but Hitori mostly is completely unfettered as she dives deep, disrupts those backlines, and returns to the objective.
Well, it also allows her teammates to get 2 pretty easy kills while she's kind of sections off the support of SSG, continuing to kind of move the cart forward here. Hawk not able to get back in a mech, so he'll end up losing that as you're going to have Chronic over here on the Widow just trying to find anything.
Not much to see. Apparently, his Vision just claps the Widow. You can see Vision's not exactly in the most complicated hidden spot, but these kills are ridiculous. Filthy stuff from the Hanzo. Vision helps get Extinction across the line with a very hefty time bank left.
Yeah, 219 is a pretty good amount of time, so this is a fantastic start. I mean, can you imagine, like, Extinction takes this, you kind of look at the series, like, you could have been in a world where Extinction's up 2-0 on SSG. I don't think anyone would have predicted that, but no, they played really well on their offensive side. So they finished Gibraltar with 219 in the time bank. Taking a look at some of the stats, Mitch, not even a lot of kills kind of happening on the SSG side. Really, it was just like that fight where they end up kind of winning on top of the shuttle, and that's really about it.
I mean, in fairness, they get bundled out of that part of the map pretty quickly, I think, is, you know, Hawk ends up being quite deep, trying to run away, and then there's just a Primal Rage that forces Space Station out of that part of the map. Really nice Winston play from Hitori, by the way. She's been really generating a lot of momentum for this Extinction squad, and Vision's Hanzo has been excellent. I talked about the game plan, right? Take that space away from the Hanzo. It works out like once for Space Station in that second part of the map, and then no one really seemed to get within striking distance of the other Shimada brother, as Extinction making use of King and Hitori very effectively on offense.
Yeah, so we'll see on defense here. They'll play basically the same thing here, Extinction. We'll see if SSG, if there's going to be some changes. It looks like right now, kind of maybe hovering some, but we do not know until the spawn door opens up. It looks like Hawk, though, going to kind of consistently stay with this Diva, which I actually would say is a pretty good pick, right? Being able to kind of like eat some of those bio grenades, kind of duel that Winston head on. It's Chronic trying to find an angle here. We'll see most likely not going to take a TP across, going to play here from some below ground.
I think you probably need it here as well to help someone like Chronic play on remotely even footing against the Hanzo, who is vastly advantaged at this kind of range. The Space Station is the same mandate. Can you close the gap adequately? Sugarfree wants to TP in behind Hitori. She is just overwhelmed there. There is a lot of damage. And that's even without Sugarfree actually being in a position to contribute meaningfully to that elimination.
Yeah, so I mean, now it's going to kind of give SSG some of this high ground control, right? As they move the cart under the underpass. Now I actually like having the BAP in the mix, right? If you kind of get dove on, you know, but Hitori staying a little bit too long, maybe you're able to punish, you know, with the Cassidy.
TP across the server room. Space Station serious about canvassing this part of the map with their influence. Deflect there, flash drone thrown by the feet of King, and this is Vision picking Chronic off past that defense matrix. He probably felt like Hawk had him covered. That's not the case at all. Well, now Space Station trying to chase down the stragglers here from Extinction, but those stragglers are contesting the card and making it costly. Now setting up a bunker in this underpass.
Yeah, I was going to say, Vision makes down to the health pack. What I was talking about with the benefits of CJ playing the BAP and the immortality field kind of used, and it doesn't really result in keeping anybody alive. They deal with it quite quickly, and the Amp Matrix now used straight through a TP, but it's read by Extinction. A nice bio there from Scuff. Ends up losing his life, but that's going to result in a few kills.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. Absolutely. 2 players doused by that anti-heal, and Hitori is going to flatten CJ in that little corner. This is solid. Good defense so far. It's been very hard for SSG to actually get this cart moving. And a fantastic fallback off the high ground for Extinction to set up a little bunker there. Eventually, Hitori goes down, and the absence of the Winston here for the next 8 or so seconds will hurt Extinction. They're going to have to give some ground.
Yeah, so see if... You're going to have another fight here, though, for Extinction. You're going to have Rally here to work with. Primal, so a lot of stuff that could potentially stall this out, as you'll have a Dragon here to kind of split the point as well.
Hawk here just wants to keep this mech and has a remake opportunity to boot. Chronic, what? It's a dangerous spot to be with the Deadeye, and King utterly disrespects it. In with the blade he goes. Hitori with the Primal Rage. And between the two of them, they put Space Station to the sword. 0.06 meters away from the checkpoint. Close Space Station, but no cigar.
Hawk is going to have to run all the way off, jump off the map, right? You're going to have to get him spawn back up. You're going to burn like, you know, 15, 20 seconds here just off of that. I mean, I guess the bad part here for Extinction is you ended up using a significant, you know, portion of your ultimate saved up, but Scuffed able to get a nano, right? No nano for Hitori, most likely in this situation. This sound barrier needs to be good from Lap, but still, with the time bank that Extinction has, any type of hold here, you know, past this moment is great.
Nano here, just around the corner for Scuff. It's going to be harder and harder to shift Hitori from this defensive position now, as Extinction are holding SSG at bay for the time being. That Lucio, though, that gets a little bit harder. The sharp edge begins to become dull. The Immortality Field, very good placement there for CJ. Means the Space Station can scrap down on that low ground, and there's not a darn thing Extinction can say about it. First checkpoint secured here. I'd say it's been less than pretty for SSG, but now they can at least set up shop with the Sim TP.
I think if you are Extinction, King now going away from Genji over to Venture, the conversation needs to be like, okay, we need to win one fight and get high ground control, right? You win one fight, get high ground control, you can kind of get this one like very close to OT, just off of the basis of that. So we'll see how they go about doing this.
This Venture is always going to be a problem. Scary for Sim to play against this. Often was used in Malga shells against those squishier DPSs. There's Vision. Speaking of squishy DPSs, Cassidy is not one of them, and yet Vision's headshot accounts for him comfortably. Very, very scary stuff here because SSG don't have the shuttle control anymore. Vision is set back up on here, and we're down to 225.
Also, look where Hawk is. There's not a great way to kind of get Hawk potentially out of this position. He's going back to the other side, but
yeah, he's in trouble.
Yeah, and you know, if he gets staggered out here, right? You don't have the. He's gonna have to use self-destruct into this situation. Oh, and it actually looks like there's potentially a boot from Lep on that other side. Lep ends up using the sound barrier here. That actually kind of pushes people back in the line of sight. I believe it was Scuffed in that situation in the line of sight of the self-destruct.
Such a sick improvisation there for Spacestation, turning a really weak situation into one that they can capitalize on, knocking the Ana out into the effect of the blast, and all of a sudden, Hawk was in position to tear the rest of them down. Nice looks, and still 1 minute 45 on the clock. That high ground for Vision, that's, you expect that running into a Hanzo comp here, but there needs to be a good enough strategy to take care of it. Do you TP up there? Yes. Get that shuttle control at the very least. There's no sightline for the Hanzo to fight up there. Hattori needs to think about that primal rage now. She is low and eventually does go for it now. It's got to be tough, though, to protect your teammates. A nice grenade there catches on Hattori. She can't really dive nearly as deep as she would have liked.
Yeah, but I think this is fine, though, right? You're just trying to burn clock. I don't think she needs to dive in and, like, come up with, like, 2-3 kills here. She's just trying to kind of, like, buy them some space, get them some high ground control yet again, as now you put in a situation for Extinction where, you know, one fight, right? You're going to be deep into, you know, OT, may actually even win the map off of that.
Tech shock at the ready for King. 60 seconds and counting remaining in the round for Space Station. It's been labored. It's been slow progress across the map. Against Scuff's going to be the first casualty. That bodes well for SSG. Immortality field is good, but only if you're standing in it. As Chronic is just discovered. Forced down to the low ground. And Hitori's able to take that elimination. It's now 4 versus 4. Hawk has a remake opportunity. Now the symbol comes down for Sugar Free, and King wants to dive past it. He is the perfect hero to circumvent that defensive ability. And now we'll simply clear the TP and maybe even draw some people back in the direction of the cart, but it's kind of tough eventually to get involved in the fight properly from here. Really only has that verticality on a long-ish cooldown. Still gets CJ on the way out, though. Not too shabby at all. Now in a bit of a weird spot. Isolated on the map.
Spot. Yes, I mean, not able to get back over there towards the cart as Scuffed actually hit that bio on the CJ, like long range, and then you actually had King go finish it off as King just comes out of nowhere, takes out Sugar Free. But you're automatically going to have a better time bank here for Extinction, right? You kind of did your job there holding as well as you did on that second checkpoint.
I mean, he bought an unreal amount of time, such that SSG winning the map is severely in question at this point. It's Sojo now for Chronic. Some longer sight lines now as SSG no longer really have a strategy that centers around closing the gap, but they can get themselves some of this high ground as Sim TP as they, well, frankly, they close the gap. Okay, Chronic going to come forward now with a sound barrier in play for Space Station Gaming. Hawk again with that self-destruct. A remake always possible, but Chronic simply TPs away. Feels like they're actually happy just to get the card up on the corner here.
Yeah, so, I mean, you get the cards to the corner. What, Extinction, right? I think you kind of use this nano on a Hattori. You send her into that back line, right? There's no sound barrier or anything. Oh, actually, Hawk probably just caught off guard here a little bit. Thinks he can freely go to that high ground, and that is most certainly not the case. Let's see if he's actually able to make it out. So, has to burn the self-destruct. It'll be the primal rage from Hattori, just trying to displace players here on SSG.
It's really hard to punish this primal. Hattori basically gets to do this for free, especially when there's like a nano break in play, who's also giving Inspire healing over the Winston constantly, and now that will not be stopped. Raid boss brig into the back line, and Space Station frankly don't have a retort. Now they're down to 10 seconds. Time is short, and frankly, they're running low on options with Hawk out of mech. They're in no position to fight for this round, and Hawk knows it.
It looks like Hawk is conceded. Yep, they will end up giving up the point here. Not able to get a new mech back and get a touch, and Extinction takes map number 2 here, Mitch. This series much closer than I think we had expected, where map 1 comes all the way down to the wire, and then Extinction set a really good time bank and then take map number 2.
This team is legit. I have decided. Extinction showing us some fantastic looks over Gibraltar. And I feel like I sold Hattori short on just how important she was going to be to the overall strategy of Extinction. Just unreal Winston play, such that even on this Diva look, Hawk is not able to do anything about it. Frankly, Vision on the Hanzo is a thing of nightmare at this point. As Chronic can't really match that impact. There's like Cassidy play, which is awkward against the Hanzo anyway. Then a switch towards the Sojourn, which isn't enough towards the end of that map when there's very little time left. It's good fundamentals, now backed up by strong individual flair on the side of Extinction that gives them a well-earned map win.
Yeah, as we take a look at some of the highlights here, where Extinction able to kind of highlight this like Winston, Brig on a combination, right? That we've seen a lot in the past with really good success. You saw a lot of big bio grenades from Scuffed kind of come on in. Hitori get lots of value out of her primal rages, and then also when she had the benefits of the nano boost. So we'll see now where SSG decides to take us for this next map, but it most certainly is going to be close.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I can't even get Hanzo Genji in like an Brick Winston shell from Extinction, and it looks so damn good. Situations like this, the Brig looked like she was isolated in that position there, but look at Alba just charge forward, ready to go past that amplification matrix. That's a decision, by the way, that is kind of hard to make because your first reaction is to try and disengage and run away. But if Extinction do that, they lose that fight automatically. So the calling, honestly, is really, really good. They made some great decisions, I think, in the middle of some really intense fighting. And I just want to say, like, they're going up against like ex-Overwatch League players, like years and years and years and years and years of Overwatch experience. It's up like 20 years of like competitive Overwatch experience, maybe. And they are giving as good as they get. Now, I don't want to undersell King's contribution to that era of Overwatch. Obviously, he was a factor, but very impressed with what we saw from Extinction there. It's hard fought. It is scrappy at times, but in the end, it actually is pretty convincing.
Yeah, this map obviously very convincing actually, and like the sense like it finished with over like 2 minutes in the time bank, and then obviously hold SSG on defense. And Mitch, like, this is an SSG team that comes into this series like they've only lost like 4 maps total, right?
Yeah.
It's not a team that's like, kind of dropping maps to like everybody. Like they're very, very good, and they almost lose map 1. They almost they did lose map number 2, right? So this is a series that obviously Extinction came in very prepped for, and maybe SSG overlook them a little bit.
I mean, SSG are not dropping maps to anyone in that top 4 outside of Nightmare. They dropped 1 map to them, right?
Yeah.
So outside of that, they've been, clean sheets against the bottom half of the table. So, I mean, I'm just trying to express that this is abnormal. It's I think Extinction really playing up to their level. Lijiang Tower even looks really quite close. SSG also, I don't think there's anything egregious that's going on. There's nothing we're pointing at, like, oh, there was an Ajax in pointless junk time at the end of the first round of the first map or whatever. But in general, this is the punching up I was asking for in that Sakura game, honestly, or at least from that team in general. So Ramatra ban against Hitori. It's going to be tougher to play that rush style, and Lucio will be taken away from SSG.
Right, but like, can you play the Zarya, let's say, if that's what they want to play with that Lucio, right? It becomes a little bit odd, right? I mean, you kind of can play it with the Sim, right? But maybe there's a world in which, look, for Extinction, you can play like on a Brig with the Winston yet again, right? I don't exactly, playing it into the Zarya might be tough, right? But that's a pathway here.
Yeah, you can like try and just go for good numbers on that attack side. Maybe like a slower attack setup with Ana Brig, I think, is pretty reasonable. There's also the question, it looks like Spacestation like to work the Wuyong into a lot of their compositions. It hasn't looked as broken as we saw in that previous series, right? And obviously it's not a great option at all. Gibraltar's the kind of map that really warps, I think, a lot of what the favorable conditions are for a lot of our meta heroes right now. So I won't call the result an outlier, but it is the kind of map that it takes a lot of like the good comps of this current era and makes them pretty obsolete. So expect to see more of a return to normality on King's Row, even with Ramatra unavailable.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, Ramatra is not available for Hitori. She played that
Zarya mirror.
Yeah, do you get into a Zarya mirror? That's like, that could be where we kind of end up, right? It seemed like that is kind of where SSG wants to kind of end up. We heard RuPaul talking about how felt like, obviously SSG using Zarya Reaper to great effect here at the moment, during this stage. So maybe that's kind of what they want to fall back on, which obviously if you go with the Reaper, there's not a real great case to play the Winston if you're like Extinction.
I was half expecting defense side Winston here is not the T. Honestly, it's not great, but I was half expecting Winston from Extinction. So Hitori on the Hazard. Now, Hazard has kind of slipped out of vogue here, right? When teams are looking for like a more for the super mobile option and playing Ramatra instead. So this is the fallback. And how do you feel about Hazard into Zarya?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it kind of plays, right? Where like it could be like quite difficult to kind of like stand there toe to toe and trade damage, especially with the Reaper on the other side. But I mean, you're comboing this with like a BAP Wuyong backline, right? Like there's tons of damage output there. There's like a lot of healing. So you know, not a world in which like it could be very difficult for Hattori to live.
And we have the Freya here for Chronic. So Reaper Freya. Obviously, Lep showing us just how annoying this constant poke for a Wuyong can be. Switch up a comp here. Wholesale. Kiri, Brig, and a Cassidy Sim, and a change of main tank as well, I think. Change of tank, rather.
Yes,
Diva.
Hawk. Okay, so Hawk will end up going over and playing Diva, where I think, look, it's really difficult, right, without the Lucio in the mix. You see them kind of trying to move through the choke, right? It's going to have to be like a TP, maybe. It looks like they were trying to set it for like a TP to the high ground, and then actually decided to just kind of like go away from it. Now they kind of TP, and they're trying to chase potentially Hattori up here. It's actually a nice jagged wall, like split Hawk off on the rest of the side. He takes a ton of damage.
I think they almost got Hawk for that. I mean, this Vision just a random pickoff. CJ goes down. Hold on. TP across the way here now for Sugar Freeze. Yeah, they're trying to chase down Scuff, that backline in general. I mean, Vision has to go. There's no doubt about it. Instead, though, it's an ambulance call for Space Station. Hawk, Lep, Chronic all flattened as they try and take the fight over towards that stairwell. They've got the mobility of the Sim, but Extinction were ready for them.
Well, an Extinction can also just kind of get out of dodge, right? And then you also have like the damage coming down from the support line here. Vision doing a nice job coming off with some picks. This could definitely, because also like SSG, you imagine this comp match, it's going to take a little bit for things to develop as, well, now Sugar Free off of the Sim over to the Tracer, right? You're really reliant on him to kind of like, you know, open something up, maybe, you know, get a pick on the back line.
All right, so already, yeah, we worked our way in, and that's the BAP, of course, with that lack of lateral mobility, snapped up by Chronic. Hawk, I think, trying to get up to the high ground and was diverted by some effect, knocked back down, and King was hoping to get a D-Mech there for free, but that's a lot to ask. There was a healer available there. I think CJ was inside that small room. What is... All right, Sugar Free, like, bro is out in the open, looked like a deer in the headlights, very, very low, and King is more than happy to step up and take that trade. What is going on with SSG?
What is going on? Yeah, I mean, this is a really bizarre like start to this half. Like Hawk trying to kind of gain some positioning here around that central pillar, but Hattori, she's controlled that position the entire time, also controlled that high ground on that left hand side. And like, yeah, you may get like a scenario, Mitch, for here on point A, you're just gonna have like one big ult dump fight from both sides, and that's about it. I mean, it's been really slow.
And exactly, that's the problem, I think, if you're trying to finish them out quickly.
The title blast, I think the title blast goes on to, don't actually see, it either goes to Hattori or to King, and they're not actually able to make it up to the high ground there. As this is a really weird position from Hattori. She's over here kind of like stuck out of nowhere.
She's still living, bro. She's spurned more clock here, virtually.
Yeah, but like it's not a spot you want to be with your Wuyong Hazard, like basically in the spawn. Even with all of that being said, they get it below a minute here, and they hold on to just about all their ultimates, and Alba makes a change. So Extinction doing a decent job on defense thus far. Let's do a listen in here with SSG to see if they can pick it up on the offensive side.
Then Funny could go whatever me Hawk's in.
Right.
I can touch point left. You can go take an angle with Funny.
Yeah, I'm going top.
Hazard half. He's out.
Hazard already.
On the main.
I get out.
Yeah, I'm big.
Two right side. How's Trey?
Push card.
We're just gonna cover for it. Right now.
Lenny, I can hold you in from right side. You want? Yeah.
I'll right. Near window. I'll pass.
You ready? Wait, not yet. I'm ult. Has no wall. Here, hit me again. Go. Hit me. Walk forward.
Walk. Turn. Back top. Back on top. Keep break. Has on me. Has on your back. I'm low. I'm with you, I'm with you. Look at it. Has one beyond. Turn out.
Has one. Kill us.
Bring in library.
Alright, I'll let you push and get your ult. You get mine. I saw window has. I didn't see pulse. Are they dragon? Hey, dragon first point.
They saw a dragon.
Like, they have no ults. We can tip with them. Just dragon.
What a weird and scrappy map this has been so far.
Right.
Spacestation looked generally in disarray, like on that first point. That fight's pretty clean from them, honestly. They just walk up, make use of the Tidal Blast, Pulse Bomb combo, but outside of that, it's been odd.
Yeah, now you're seeing Extinction go to a Zarya Curie Brig back like setup. With still playing that Hanzo Tracer DPS duo, which has actually been quite well for them throughout this. But King in a rough spot here. That's going to be recall. Has to try and get back to safety to the rest of the squad, which he will.
I think the final destination of this comp matchup is a Zarya mirror, but we'll see if we end up getting that. There is a box shot thrown into the corner. Yeah, Extinction very low, and King eventually going to be dragged down. Looks like it's just those water droplets thrown in there by Lep. Dragon Strike here tries to clear the room, and it works. At least gives a little bit of space into Extinction to try and fight from. They got a rally in play. Alba uses the bash on Hawk, who voluntarily ejects from mech just to try and zone away from the car. It mostly works. At least Hitori and Alba try and step up to contest and are taken down. Scuffed, of course, is trying to evade detection. Will be the last to fall, and so SSG solid. First point.
Okay, so now you'll end up with a Zarya head-to-head like you imagined. The break was good against the Diva, right? We've talked about that for a while. Yep, okay, so now you're going to have Alba switch over and play the Wuyong. So almost a mirror matchup, except for Vision, who's going to continue to play that Hanzo. A little bit more like one-shot pick potential as Chronic going to opt for the Freya. A little bit more high ground control and then just kind of consistent damage output.
Big damage on Hitori here. I mean, let's think back to Hawk's 20,000 damage at Lijiang Tower game. Someone who seems to be able to still know how to squeeze everything out of this eye. I think, but his Kitsune Rush, then Hawk immediately says, I do not want to be around for this. Pulse Bomb, though, dropped in their wake. It catches up Scuffed. And there's Hitori, perhaps an overextension, or maybe just getting overwhelmed by the Tidal Blast. Either way, it doesn't take long for Spacestation Gaming to fight into the Kitsune Rush with ultimates of their own.
Well, Tori, she's trying to play aggressive right when they have the rush rolling here for Extinction, but not able to find anything. The Tidal Blast comes in there from Spacestation Gaming, and that'll be King's Row, at least for SSG's offense. A minute 9 in the time bank, so finishing with a pretty good amount of time where it never really felt like anybody on, it felt like either team was like very comfortable throughout that game. It was like a very odd start, and then I felt like SSG, obviously, once they kind of got rolling with that Diva and then switching over to the Zarya, which Hawk has been great at the end, that's when they started to kind of like, really take control. And it's interesting that you see like not a lot of deaths from like Hawk, CJ, but like it felt like it took a lot of time to get things going, at least on first point.
Yeah, I mean, Hawk is playing a lot of the Diva, so, with the ability to, demech, self-destruct, get a mech back kind of thing, it can be hard to sort of clean her off. Also, there's like these weird these rotations from Extinction on the defense side were really interesting. Like they ended up mostly in the attacker's spawn at one point. I guess they got pushed on point and they rotated through the hotel and then off. But I don't mind that. I guess like trying to like extend these fights with that hazard comp. But Chronic's been doing pretty well, considering he's, got the most deaths on the side of SSG. He's still been able to put out a really nice amount of damage. Now going to go over to the Sojourn here on defense. So, scrappy map. Like, really, it's murky. It's muddy out there. And SSG sort of brawl pretty well for the last 2/3 of the map, though. I think most of the action ends up happening right here.
Right, so we'll see on defense, SSG, Chronic will end up playing the Soj here, and they're just going to start off with Hawk on the Zarya. This is what I thought. I thought we would actually see maybe this like with like an on a like Brig, for instance, but the Ana Wuyong in combination with the Winston. Let's see how they kind of use this Winston, help Hitori to try and gain some of this high ground.
It probably has to be incremental, as Hawk is not going to just move out of the way and allow Hitori to take that high ground position. So we'll pop up here. We're going to trade a little bit, get some bubbles out. But, I mean, falling back to this position is great. This is not fully safe as there's constant poke coming in from that off angle, but it is a foothold at the very least here for Extinction to set up a deeper dive, and Hitori's doing that right now. Big face full of damage though for Hitori, but still able to pick up that one kill. It's left that goes down. It's a trade. Chronic picks it up, and now can control this high ground as well. Hawk isolated as well from his backline. Spacestation Gaming playing in 2 halves, and neither of them really finding much success. This is just a really solid strategy for Extinction.
Yes, Vision kind of moves through the choke, finds one as well. So Hitori, she gets control of some of that high ground, right? And then just kind of dives back in that back left corner, kind of splits off some of the supports and also Chronic. And then it's actually a nice sleep from Scuffed on a Hawk. And then once he gets waken up, it's like some damage from Scuffed and then Vision that ends up finishing off the Zarya. So good start here for Extinction, above 5 minutes in the time bank here as they move through the second part of the map.
5 minutes. Yeah, plenty of time to work with. And already Hitori's stepping forward and saying, if you want to access this ledge, if you want to have a really easy poke position, you've got to go through me. This does, of course, leave her very detached from the rest of this Extinction lineup, but obviously Winston can rectify that very quickly. However, it's at the cost of health normally, and ideally not all of it.
Well, she wasn't able to make the leap back towards the choke, and then Scuff doesn't have the benefits of the nano boost at the time, which maybe they better off like waiting a beat, right? And letting Hitori, she jump back to the rest of the team with a nano and then just kind of like land on and collapse on top of the players of SSG. But maybe the timing just a little bit off there between her and Scuff.
Dragon Strike here for Vision. We've been seeing players use it from inside buildings, or at least, through buildings to some degree, so it's harder to catch. It's going to be a knockdown here off this one. I'm certain of a King. Doubles back around, and Hawk is on his rear end. Nice little pulse bomb there from Sugarfree, but King already did much the same. It's CJ down, and without a Hawk, it's tough to fight these. Sugarfree's going to have a crack at it anyway, though. Dodges the sleep, definitely now gets past the Hanzo towards Scuff, but doesn't have the connection to knock that Ana low. That was a tidal blast from left, and it's unclear. Yeah.
No, it was on a Chronic, as we just kind of saw from his POV. It's a tidal blast on a Chronic, so you end up kind of burning that ultimate, which felt like there was not a scenario you're going to win, and maybe that's why you decide to do it, because you're going to make a swap here and play Kiri Break. Now with Sugarfree ditching the Tracer, going over and playing a Reaper, so want to just kind of burn down the Winston of Hitori, but she's got Primal, so she might be able to kind of live through this, and then you can switch right after.
She'll double back and take the high ground. Jesus, just so hard for Space Station to fight into this area of the map. They've got the Hanzo at a safe distance. The Winston controlling the high ground. It's constant poke coming through. Hawk has to go for it, and, well, that's a grab that does at least catch the Hanzo. Looked like it was not going to get anyone at first. Alba's the one that goes down, though. Vision able to survive somehow, and it's just as well, because he pays off that investment from the supports. Takes Chronic out of the game. Space Station Gaming are struggling here. They're going to be forced to throw it all at them. Now, that Bionade is not enough to stop this, I think. Space Station should be able to hold up here as King realizes that's too thorny a proposition to challenge for.
Yeah, it's a nice bio from Scuff there towards the end, but not enough for King to be able to kind of take that 2-on-1. As looks like you still have Alba here. King also in the mix, so looks like they may want to go a little bit faster. Sorry, she will stay on the Winston, which is going to be really tough to play into this Reaper.
And it's not because it's not for reasons of ult charge or anything like that. She
just used it.
I mean, she is, a pretty prolific Winston player, right? I feel like that's definitely where she feels her best, but against this Reaper with Desire, it's a scary prospect. Sugarfree is aware that Death Blossom probably being tracked, and that was nice. I saw that Bionade there from Scuff. You don't get much past me. King flattens Sugarfree though, but Hitori is down. Again, it's a really difficult front line for her to play into. So even with that pick, Extinction don't have any game right now, not to go with. They've got to try and poke Hawk down. It's not a good proposition. And there's a question of whether this Winston is going to be the right choice.
And like, what are you playing this, like, obviously you're going to have a Tidal Blast coming up. You're going to have a Nano, but like, are you kind of staying on this Winston to kind of get some value out of those ultimates, you think, with the Winston? It feels like, though, it's a lot to gamble on. There's a nice bubble there on top of Sugarfree, allows him to Death Blossom, and they'll take out Scuff. Vision just turns, deals with it. Tori, as feels like it's a few fights here where Extinction could have made some changes, and they've held on maybe to this comp a little too long.
And the thing about this Death Blossom reality for Sugarfree is that Extinction are aware of it, but you can't play around it forever. Like, you can't just run and hide every time Reaper TP's fall with a bubble. And Sugarfree knows this, so he knows he can get space just by doing that. Just the threat of that Blossom with the bubble up always forces Extinction back. So at some point they just say, stuff it. We can't keep playing this way. That they end up playing into it, and they get brought down. Here's a rally in play. Scuff is the first to fall as Lep starts the fight off here pretty favorably, but there's some off-angle damage coming in that's laid Lep a little bit low. Still, Space Station don't want to get out. Those 2 kills, more than enough for them, especially as they don't want to dangle themselves in front of Vision's Hanzo.
Right, and that's the Tidal Blast gone there.
Oh.
That is a nice, that's the perk with a little long-range shot there. Finishes off King. But that's the Tidal Blast gone. And now what? You're relying on Hitori getting the benefits of the Nano. See if she can make something happen, but this is gone. You know, Extinction got off to a really good start, right? And SSG has just dominated this phase of the map.
Yeah. Eventually they're playing around the Winston now, and Extinction have been asked a pretty tough question, and frankly, I'm not sure they found the right answer. Vision forced back in the choke. The Zarya poke is real. Hawk just trying to maintain a high charge even outside of the fight. What is okay? Grab here. Dragon Strike going to be thrown in, but King is going to be removed. Titori with the nano boost is going to be able to get out of trouble, but Chronic's going to be asking for more in the back line. Wuyong damage is terrible, but with left combining with Chronic, that's an easy pick up of Alba. That is nice from Chronic. Pops up for a moment, and Scuffed gets absolutely domed. It's the end of the line for the Extinction by the looks of things now, as Sugar Free is finding plenty of success on this Reaper. Kings Row looks to go over towards Space Station as Extinction show us a pretty unconvincing attack side. It's a 2-1 score.
Yeah, that, after the first point, the attack was pretty uninspiring there from Extinction. SSG does a great job with some of their swaps, and quite frankly, they got nothing done after that. I think Extinction needed to make some changes, and they just don't end up making them, right? I think it's really tough. Tori, she's fantastic on the Winston, but I think it's really difficult to have her play that into especially like the Zarya Reaper type of setup, and with like a Brig on the other side, right?
12 deaths, Matt. Kind of tells you everything you need to know. I also don't think Hanzo is great on that stage of the map. The winding streets of the second phase of Kings Row. The sidelines are not that long, and Vision is often forced into some fairly compromising situations. And we saw the position the Hanzo was trying to play from. Sugar Free kept challenging that with a bubble and a TP forward, and then we just walk away. So constantly just filling up the field of view of that Hanzo and really making it hard for Vision to have the same level of output that he did on Gibraltar.
As we take a look at some of the highlights, I think Chronic really started to come alive. You kind of mentioned his name towards the end. The start of this game with SSG's like offense was really weird, right? Yeah, it was like a bit slow. I think like when you kind of go back and look at it, right? Like they, if they get off to a little bit better start on offense, their timing may have been even better. So really, we're just kind of that blunder is like the only one for SSG on this map. Otherwise, they were just dominant in the second part of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, some moments here. Thought that Tori playing, walking tightrope, against the Zarya Reaper in general, right? And even if the Winston takes like a random railgun headshot from the Sojourn on the way in, like they will just die instantly. I like the Suzu straight away there for CJ, just trying to make sure that Sugar Free touches down and has everything he needs to succeed to clear that area. And that's just the gameplay loop that Space Station keep repeating. Keep that Reaper forward, deny that Hanzo position, force him just out of the game entirely, and then destroy the Winston, right? Because now you can hang around, you can just chill, have a tea party in the front line with this like insane up close damage that the Winston really can't do much about. That game plan for Extinction requires the Hanzo to be set up for success, to be hard to reach, to have like really good high ground. And frankly, it's just not really a feature of the map there in that Kings Row second. On third, it can be. Right. There, not so much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think now Extinction, you can pick what I mean. You got like Esperanza maybe, right, to work with, or Surabasa as well. So like the Ramatra is going to be available to play, right? So they won't feel as bad now, I guess, if you are Extinction. I don't
know if they're any bad. I didn't know if for push or whatever it might be for Flash, but there's no bad maps for Ramatra really here, right?
No. I would, Gut says Surabasa is probably the best, that you could go to. Like Esperanza, there's a lot of you can play a lot of dive there, right? And I think those are certain things that you would probably see. Where Surabasa, there's a little bit longer sight lines at moments, right? The Ramatra can poke a little bit, especially if they want to try and play Zarya, a little bit harder to close the gap, but.
I tend to agree, but if you remember the RuPaul interview, he said that Wuyong was actually weaker on Surabasa.
Whoa, hey!
Those sidelines were more constricted. So
new queen.
Yeah, new queen. Okay. Yeah.
You almost forget this is an option, right?
Well, I think the reason why this is in my mind is because Extinction picked this map against Geeky last week, and they got 0 meters of progress.
Okay. Only, in theory, only up from here.
Yes, I mean. Only GK has been able to beat them 128-0 on this map.
Right. Nobody beats us 128-0 twice.
It could be a complete outlier. I mean, I'm looking here. We haven't, outside of that, we haven't seen it from Extinction. So that's something that they're recently starting to pick into a little bit more. And don't worry about last week's results.
Everybody, outside of Team Liquid, obviously, everybody was just getting, beat down by GK. So nothing crazy there.
I want to just float this now, get it out of the way. I do think that if Spacestation want to really make a play for the top 3, or really want to be considered in that conversation, the level of performance we've seen across this series probably doesn't qualify them for that. I think that they've also, like, don't get me wrong, Extinction played really well, but I think that we've seen some pretty, we've seen a bit of disarray from this team as well, right? I think they've still been trying to find a shape. I think losing on Gibraltar is just not the end of the world, because it is like, it's a bit of an other, type map. But I for me to feel confident about this team heading into like the post stage, heading to the playoffs, I would have wanted this game to be more dominant against a team that's only won 5 maps, that's 1-3. A team I think only got 1 map against Sakura, for example. You'd want to see a bit more of a dominant showing.
Yeah, and I mean, look, SSG, they go what? They go to 5 with TL, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't really look like that team, and it might just be, look, like there are a lot of times where, their next match is against GK. All they're thinking about is GK. It probably also feels like, after Team Liquid beats GK in our last series, it's like I mean, this is like a weird way of kind of saying it, but like you're only excited to play that match, and like everything else is like, this match probably doesn't feel like super, it's tough to get up for in a way.
Yeah.
But they obviously have to, right? Because Extinction is not, just a pushover. Like, if you were to not know any of the records, right, you would not think that this team that we're seeing it with Extinction right here is 1-3, right? I mean, they look much better than a 1-3 squad.
Yeah, I would have them at 3-3, like, quite easily. That's why, like, the loss. I said at the start, the loss to Sakura made me sort of underrate this team a lot coming into this game.
Right.
Sort of seeing the balance of power in terms of that team. But I think it might be a bit of both. It might be Spacestation playing down and Extinction playing up. But I did say, like, they've got top flight individuals in some of these roles, like Hitori on Winston. She's excellent. King and Vision also, I do think, can take it to like a lot of the top flight DPS in NA right now. Like, I'm not trying to underrate them. It's been a bit sussy from the SSG boys. That's all I'm saying.
And this is a comp that RuPaul kind of highlighted with the Zarya and the Reaper here for SSG. That can be really difficult to play against. RuPaul had mentioned we see it's going to be CJ falling first, but RuPaul had highlighted, like, hey, if there's a patch coming, like, these could be 2 of the heroes that like really get hit, because like in rank currently at the moment, 2 of the strongest, and you see SSG kind of putting them to good use for a lot of the time. Not here at the start, so already off to a better start here than versus GK for Extinction, as they handle things pretty convincingly early on, and they'll get the bot moving.
I like the proposition of the Symmetra against the Zarya, because as Sim, when you fight Zarya, you're charging up a bubble, you're giving her damage, but you're also getting damage, right? You're also powering yourself up. So it feels more acceptable just to like shoot her shields, charge yourself up, and have that sort of ammo and still be able to fight. It doesn't feel nearly as bad, because at least you too are ramping up in terms of your damage. That's pretty brutal, though. Losing Hitori there, the front line just picked off by Chronic. And now, what's the plan B supposed to be for Extinction? I'd wager there isn't one.
Hit run. that is plan B. As soon as Hitori falls, she's kind of like the centerpiece of your comp. Yeah, you were hightailing it. So they go all the way back now. Going to make sure you get your Ramatra back in the mix and get her into a position that she can obviously produce some really good results. But yeah, I think the sim is obviously good, getting the Ramatra in and out of some of these like weird situations that you're kind of going up against with the Reaper TPing on top of you or behind you, something like that. And look at this, I mean, they get rid of Sugar Free right off the bat. Like, that's not a Sugar Free is not the one who should be like dying right away, right? Like, he should, as the Reaper, be getting the bulk of like the bubbles coming from Hawk and protection, things like that. So to see him fall early, especially at the hands of Scuffs, maybe you're kind of trying to stretch a little bit far, like what you think you can do with the Reaper in those type of positions. But it's another fight win here for Extinction, and Mitch, with a few ultimates here to work with, like they're going to be close to getting checkpoint.
I mean, incrementally, they're just winning these value trades in basically each and every fight. There it is again. I mean, that was before. Overclock came through. Chronic just dominated. Hawk does not have the bubbles to keep him alive here. And Sugar Free is looking like confused Travolta out there on the point. No one to back him up. And Space didn't even get to start the fight. They weren't even in position for that.
Chronic is trying to use the overclock, like in that, the staircase over towards the side. And I mean, there's just the Ramatra shield there, and then it's just Vision popping his overclock, and just two taps from around the corner.
Yeah, Vision has 4k damage right now. Vision with more damage than Chronic and Sugar Free combined by another 25%. Actually, by another 33%.
Kitsune Rush, and they actually just use this TP and back up. I actually like this here from Extinction. Yeah, you're going to be able to use your own Rush kind of fighting back into this.
Here's that Sim wall in play. Forces now are disengaged from Space Station. Can they do it as elegantly? It's going to be hard. Okay, Grav just to try and hold Hitori in place. She's looking a little too threatening, a little too big and brolic there with that Annihilation. And Sugar Free had to TP out of the fight with just a sliver of health remaining.
She's also getting healed up really quick with a Kitsune Rush still rolling here from Scup. So you're actually going to end up seeing the sound barrier here come down here from SSG. That's not early enough, though, to keep Hawk alive. So you do end up losing King, and you lose Scup. If you could have kept Scup alive, right, and maybe you got Hitori inside of this room with the Nemesis form, start to come up with some kills. But dude, I mean, 84 meters, it's already pretty good for Extinction.
I think I'm really looking towards this Reaper to get some massive value here. It's tough though because the TP keeps, causing Extinction to be able to shift their entire focal point. And Sugar Free is hoping just to catch someone. Like, someone, please, float by me so I can just nuke you down. Hawk and the Junker Queen. Right. The Space Station, determined to assert themselves and say, when we want to fight, we will fight. We get to decide when and where that happens, but not if your Reaper is dead. Again, Sugar Free dead for the third time here, which is not an egregious number compared to the rest of his teammates, but it's interesting that it's happened sort of at the start of so many of these fights.
Well, they want to continue to try and hold this position here. Does SSG, right? They end up using this Kitsune Rush. They kind of lay it over. It's going to be Chronic on a flank. That's a nice kill there on the King. Very important to be able to come up with that, but it's going to be an overclock on the other side of things. As Lep dangerously low there, but that's going to be the shout that comes in from Hawk, giving him a little bit of extra health.
Okay, well, Bot will head back in the direction of Space Station Gaming spawned here. 84 plays 34. This is a frankly anemic performance from Space Station so far, and a lot of it has been compounded by Vision absolutely dominating. 14 eliminations for 2 deaths. Absolutely riding high. Hitori's also had very good impact in these fights, and with Annihilation around the corner, I suspect it's not about to change.
And you see SSG, they're kind of backing up here, Mitch, and dude, you can't lose Alba in these type of situations. I mean, you would have beat to match a beat here, and then you have a Kitsune Rush advantage. Let's see if they're actually able to hold on. Even while losing that Lucio, as you end up losing Hawk, Hawk ends up taking out King, and then Scup ends up dropping his own rush. It's going to be the beat, though, and you have no beat in response.
Okay. Hawk trying to hang around here. Hitori's Annihilation is going to peter out, and there's going to be no one else there. Sugar Free finally gets the disco dance on a pile of corpses and puts Space Station Gaming in a position to start to dictate the pace of game. They're going to have a rampage here from Hawk. Starting off the fight, of course, Suzu will be very much required, but it's going to be tough work for Scuff to connect with everybody who needs it. So that interaction is going to headline this next fight.
Well, Hitori, she's going to get a TP here from King over to get a contest. Let's see if Hawk can actually land a big rampage here. But you do have the sound barrier. So I mentioned, Alba ends up dying early, and that's brutal in the last night. Now, the beat's late, not able to keep Hitori up.
Okay, Annihilation Rampage rather catches onto Alba and Scuff. So Scuff at least gets a Suzu, and Alba is able to withstand that anti-heal for quite a while. The symbol is pretty nice here. It allows Vision the space to pick CJ off, but that is all that Extinction are going to have to write home about. A Space Station now threatening to even up this game. At least get butt scratch on this checkpoint now.
I mentioned it at the top of the series. You were like, the DPS players on Extinction need to play quite well. I was like, I think they will. Historically, they have. In scenarios like this, it's just the supports I was quite worried about. And those two fights, right? Alba dying, not having the beat to match beat, and then that time using the beat, but then not being able to save Hitori. They're quite fortunate they get this pick off on a Chronic, because otherwise you could have been staring down the barrel of giving up that massive lead that you have. So for me, how far Extinction goes the rest of the series, it really comes down to the support play.
I really felt like that was an inflection point, Matt. I like the perk here for Vision. Actually, it's the slowing disruptor shot just disrupt a little bit that front line, right? Make it harder for Hawk to reach up and get in range of the Ramatra. There's King, finds the first pick. It's Scuff's going down though, and there's no way he's getting out of that one alive. Not a chance. King with a timely deflect now, but the Death Blossom will outlast it. At least giving Sugar Free control of this shot. But somehow I feel like the Reaper was hoping for more. Will be topped up, but that bot is just below them outside the building. And King bites off a little bit more than he can chew by challenging that position. So now, priority for Spacestation Gaming. Bit of a trough in terms of ultimates, but they've got that bowler shot if they should need it. And ideally, they can win without spending ults, but Sugar Free, again, just gets too big for his britches, pushes past that shield and just dies to the Soj.
It'll be a bullish shot, but Hittori, she's still behind the rest of SSG now. She had actually used the Annihilation, just kind of like pushed on through. And although the Vola gets scuffed, Scuffed ends up having that Kitsune rush. Still, you're actually going to gain some progress here. As Hawk gets dangerously low, he's going to have to circle all the way back out to the spawn. So you will end up, I mean, look, even if Extinction doesn't gain any meterage off of it, which they are now, even if it's not significant, just getting the bot deep into SSG territory with this much time on the clock is massive for them, right? Just try and keep it here as long as possible. Extend this. His Vision's going to use this OC, and he's going to die.
Yep, instantly. Kitsune rush from CJ. And this is very quickly Spacestation Gaming trying to clamber back into the driver's seat, but they've lost a lot of time. Like, they were looking in a great spot to challenge the total of Extinction, but that was a couple of fights ago. Okay. That was across the map, a different postcode virtually.
Under a minute, Extinction with a 35-meter lead. You need to get great value out of these support ultimates. You get great value out of these support ultimates, there's a very high chance you win this map and we take it to a game 5. You could just not have these kind of fall for nothing. So we'll see how they kind of end up deciding to use them. They also have a support ultimate advantage, right? CJ had used a Kitsune rush previously. Now you're going to have a double support ult scenario here for Extinction. It's going to be Scuff dropping that Kitsune rush over the high ground. They need to keep Hittori up, which they do thus far.
They might be saving the beat to respond to the Rampage here, Matt. Let's go. Oh, it doesn't seem to matter. Oh, Space Station. What a scrappy game this is. Hawk gets picked up, but King falls as Chronic is able to connect that bowler shot. The problem is where the bot is. Space Station not in a position to take control of it. They got 5 seconds left in the round. They cannot be Charles the ninth thing this one. His Vision and Hittori can simply circle back to where the bot is and clean out anyone that's trying to contest it. Sugar Free TP is away there from Vision's purview, and they're just not respecting the Sojourn. What is they can't do anything about it? What a bizarre series of fights we've seen. And now Extinction, with a 35-meter lead, can simply hold the buck. There's no need to pass it. No. Simply just do their thing. It's unthrowable at this point, and we're heading to a map 5 in the weirdest game I've seen in a minute.
Extinction could have won this series by taking Lei Sheng. Like, they were very much in that game, right? Last map, I think I felt like SSG, especially once we got the second part of the map, started to really kind of take control and dominate. But this one right here, I mean, Extinction kind of took it to him. I mean, we take a look at some of the stats. Hittori, she's popping off, and Vision as well. Vision on the Soj here. Chronic has had some really good games on the Freya and whatnot, but this time, especially on a map that's a little bit more close quarter, Vision doing really well.
I mean, from the first moment on this map, I think Vision really was making his mark. Just like I mentioned, I think he was doubling down on the damage done by both of SSG's DPS at one point, and kind of never really took the foot off the gas. There were moments where SSG were coming up with an answer. Hawk switched over towards the Junker Queen, which looked decent in some situations, but again, this was just a muddy, scrappy, absolute dogfight, a dragged out new Queen Street that Extinction ended up taking. So, nice to see them pick up their map pick, and it's nothing fancy about the cop, right? It's just a Ramatra with the Symmetra. The Symmetra being pretty important, I think, to limit Chronic's impact in fights where that wall is up, and Sugar Free looked uncomfortable a lot of the time trying to put pressure down on Hittori without just getting shot to pieces by Vision.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I actually think this map plays really well to the Ramatra type of stuff they're trying to play, and they did a nice job of punishing Sugar Free, like when he was trying to go in deep, and it seems like they really didn't have, like, playing the Queen didn't really, you can play Queen into the Ramatra, right? You get past the shield, you start to kind of like build up the axe, build up the, kind of ticking damage, like it starts to look pretty good. It's just they never really got Hawk like in position to be able to do something like that. So Extinction, I mean, look at the damage dealt. They come on top of that in a pretty big way, and they take us to a 5th game. I mean, this is we did not expect that. I mean, we spent obviously we thought the second game would be awesome, right? And it most certainly was. This one, it was we didn't really have like many high hopes for potentially, and like we were certainly wrong, right? Extinction has come in and played phenomenal today.
I mean, hopes is one thing, but expectations is another, right? We really just felt like, again, I want to go back to it, but Extinction not being able to get past Sakura, I feel like was a inflection point in terms of their stage, but they've been able to reverse their fortunes, and a win here just I don't know what to make of this. A win here for Extinction.
Well, what does this actually like do in terms of the standings? Like Extinction would get to what, 2 and 3, and then Extinction has Team Z and Nightmare. Like, I mean, if you beat SSG, right? Yeah, they should be able to beat obviously Team Z and Nightmare potentially, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
I mean, that's the Nightmare game's the interesting one, right? In fact, both of their matches, I think, in the last week are big deciders for them. Nightmare don't have the hardest of matchups, I think, this weekend. We're going to see them tomorrow, actually, in the first game. They're going to
they'll play Team Z.
And also, like, you've got to bear in mind that the head-to-head will potentially be pretty important. But because Extinction lost their head-to-head to Sakura, if they move up to somehow move to a 3-3 position, obviously they sort of lose out there. I think what's most important is this team preventing themselves from falling down in that relegation zone. I think it's really hard actually for Team Z to drag Extinction down. Even if they would have beat them, I'm not even sure that they would sort of fall to that point. So a win here just inoculates Extinction from the relegation possibility.
Extinction wins here, let's say, right? Now let's live let's live a little bit fun here. Extinction wins here. You play against Team Z and Nightmare. I'm also getting a FaceTime currently from Chris Puckett, so I'm not exactly sure he currently knows.
You should answer it.
Working. I will not answer Chris Puckett FaceTime. I think he's in Vegas for. I think he's in Vegas for Con next. So he may be watching some college football. He may be a little bit unhappy at the moment.
It's 5:30, so don't answer that.
Shout out Chris Puckett though. But there's a world in which Extinction gets to 4 wins, right? Like you win this, you get to two wins, then you play Team Z and Nightmare. There's a world in which you get to 4 wins, right?
Yes. I mean, okay, if they can play like this against Nightmare, then all right, I think all bets are on. That is kind of crazy that they could rocket up into potentially 4th place if from here on out.
No, there's a world, like that's how important this map is for them potentially.
Big decider coming at you, folks. Zuravasa, as we saw flash on the screen, features a Symmetra ban for SSG and a Zarya ban, as Extinction have saved apparently the best for last. So what does this mean for a Hawk? Junker Queen? Some other
Do you want to see more Queen? I mean, dude, having the Zarya ban here for this 5th game is pretty wild. The way that it kind of all works out. I also got a tweet here that somebody had asked you to say nice things about me, and you responded that you said you can't do that.
Dude, no, Google Gemini has got really good
we're all trying to be
image generation capacity now. You can give it any prompt and basically it'll just spit it out for you. And I think replicating Twitch chat is really easy. So
we're all trying to be positive here today, and you know what? There's anybody who brings negativity to the broadcast.
It's really easy to deepfake a Twitch chat log.
A Ramatra head-to-head. And King just pulling out at the last minute to May. So we've seen King play historically like some May, where they've been pretty solid on it. So this is a little bit of a pocket pick here at the end. Let's see how it works out.
Okay, so the idea is that you have a counter to Annihilation, and you also can wall up and fall back behind it and try and get healing. But you have really good throughput anyway, right? With the regen burst from Baptiste, you can also isolate people off, and I think that this is honestly going to be hard for SSG to deal with. It means that there's no Tracer for Extinction, and Sugar Free, to some degree, has a lot on his plate here. He really needs to exert himself as the only Tracer on the field.
Right, man, but it's going to be point control here for Extinction early on. And then with the May and the BAP, they just have a lot of survivability on the point, man. It's going to be, you're looking at what, Chronic to come up with a pick at distance here? That's kind of how you're going to open? Not a lot of squishy targets for Sugar Free to kind of feast on.
Oh, it's surely Scuffed here, yeah. Chronic able to abuse this high ground now. Something that Extinction...
Ooh, nice railgun shot from Vision, though.
Okay, not bad. Chronic just caught on the point there, brought down by Hitori. Can they keep her alive, though? They're going to try and chase the Ramatra. Hitori, so far, not so bad. Scuff probably working overtime. Well, they would have if they were alive. But with only the Lucio healing, it is going to be a little bit too much. So I like the idea of playing for the long fights with the Baptiste throughput plus the May walls. But losing, when you lose
losing
the
Scuff
battle,
is brutal.
Play, yeah.
Yeah, losing Scuff is brutal, especially in this type of situation, right? Where the immortality field plus, obviously having the May in the mix is, such an advantage in terms of, just kind of, these, more elongated fights on the point. And then once you lose Scuff right away, especially when Chronic just kind of goes up the high ground, just domes him. It's a rough one to fight from at that point.
So, Extinction look to get back into the point now with a... Oh, they can catch... Oh, Hawk is overextended. I see, mindful of this. I'm not sure. Maybe this was to plan. Nice bowler shot on Scuff there, but a pretty sick immortality field keeps him alive for the time being. It's the loss of Hawk, though.
This is a must-win fight, though.
Chronic, though, is unchained. This guy is man without a cause. He is free to start to put that work in. And nice Mail wall. Oh, I love it.
Mitch, Extinction needs to win this, though. I mean, you end up using your sound barrier there as well. You end up using the Blizzard. Like, you invest some pretty big ultimates, right? If left, gonna drop a beat here, it's gonna connect with absolutely everybody.
Just outlast it, try and disengage away from it. That's the plan for Hitori. And remember, she gets that Nemesis form straight away after popping Annihilation. She can throw the Dukes up and stay alive. The stall is immense, and now Sugar Free is down. So that's no
Immortality field
in your backline. Great emo there from Scuff to Hitori. All of a sudden, she's full health. Don't know how that happened, but in an instant, she is fighting fit once more. Hawk has an Annihilation now and needs to make good use of this, but the risk of getting caught in a Blizzard here, it would be high had King been able to build one for this particular fight. Annihilation's in play, but there's Vision working at the fringes of it. Left goes down, and I'm sorry, but Extinction are the better team right now.
Yeah, we'll see if it's good enough to actually take this point, right? Hawk, dangerously low. Everybody's going to be forced off the side, and that will be Extinction. Taking our first flash point, 2 away from taking the series. Would be like, honestly, would be one of the bigger upsets we've had in either NA or EMEA, right? I know we don't see many upsets in this type of fashion often. This would be probably one of the bigger ones we've had.
It's a good start. They're going to stick with the May as well. So the next time that Blizzard comes around, it's either a great offensive tool or the perfect answer to Annihilation. Extinction, I'm sure, tension, they'll be running high now as they realize just how close they are to taking an unbelievable match win against the top team. Right now, though, focusing on the job, trying to take control of this point. You'll notice, look at the wireframe. All of SSG trying to circle around them, try and get some flanking positions. But Chronic's been kind of forced away from much of the action. There's a beautiful bolt connection there onto Scuff. Scary for the Baptiste. He can only pop himself up and make himself an easy target for this Freya. There's Hitori going down first, and that is even with a sound barrier in play. That's a brutal turn of events for Extinction.
Yeah, they end up using that beat off of the start, so and not end up winning. But it's a nice Kitsune rush here from CJ at the start, right? They kind of get brawling in it. I guess the benefit, though, for Extinction, right? I mean, look, you kind of trade those ultimates. You end up coming back with, like, an Ant Matrix and a Blizzard to work with here. And then, honestly, like, the Ant Matrix isn't even, like, obviously it's great for some of the healing that Scuff can provide, but really, he's here about that immortality field, just trying to keep Hitori being able to kind of brawl Hawk head-to-head.
Tough to recover from a fight where you commit your sound barrier and still lose.
They kind of wrap here.
Oh, okay. King down to the bomb. Yeah, jeez, they're so
split. Really love this. Extinction. Yeah, they're so.
I mean, half going on flank, I think. Yeah, the plan is to make use of the Ant Matrix map, but they split themselves willingly. I think as Hitori has to throw her block up.
Well, I guess okay. So, if you kind of like wrap around like that and use that Ant Matrix. Like, if you're taking damage and you're like Hitori or some of the other players on the high ground, you kind of need to start funneling down that staircase to actually like get in the line of sight of the healing, potentially, of Scuff. But then also, like, it's just kind of like almost bait those players into the damage and the stuff that's coming in from the Ant Matrix.
This is kind of giving Lijiang Tower vibes from Extinction as they sort of went off the boil at the exact wrong moment. Scuff already down in this fight. King probably doesn't have a great use case for this Blizzard or the chance to use it now as Extinction get dominated.
Yeah, that was an ugly point.
They look so good, and then they look like they unplugged their monitors.
Okay, so, but, well, unfortunately for them, right? SSG going to have, a pretty easy rotation over to the next point. I think it's like, it's almost, game deciding, right? Extinction gets control of this point first. Like, getting on the right side of things, getting some confidence back, winning this first fight, right? It will be a left sound barrier, and Stu CJ is already going to build up towards another rush here, so could be a tough situation to fight into, and you're going to lose Alba here, so losing any of you're going to lose both supports right away.
Okay, not the fight that Extinction were looking for.
That's the Blizzard too.
Dude, what is going on? Okay, so they obviously commit pretty heavily there, and it's like, is it not worth to try and counter the Annihilation with the... it's okay to lose the first fight of these flashpoints, I feel like. Now you have no answer. Extinction are just throwing some good money after bad here.
Yeah, because...
And they switched off the May, I guess. That's maybe why they went for the Blizzard there.
Right, but even if you come back here and, like, you get both support ults out, you know, they're going to be up near like 70%, right? It's going to be a really difficult spot to fight out of. It feels like they need a pick. Oh, and Vision actually gets one.
That's so nice. Vision very low there as Sugar Free took him down.
Somehow they all live. That's huge.
Hey, that's a nice little vortex, though, isn't it? It catches so many people out, including Scuffed, and Hitori has to go for the annihilation here. This allows Extinction to only really contest
nice
this
beat.
will just like counter this damage out. Your beats come out. It's not enough to save Hitori, though. Spacestation Gaming just happy now to trade ultimates as they came into this fight with 5. It's a big spend, but it's going to guarantee them the flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean, this, let's see if Extinction even decides to try and fight this one yet again, but that was a sizable amount of ultimates they are used, right? You don't have your sound barrier anymore, you know, no annihilation, your overclock used there as well as, like I mentioned, gotta get great support play. Let's see if Extinction can get a good use of this Kitsune Rush. They're gonna get a little bit of an advantage in terms of spawning quite closer to this flashpoint coming up.
Okay. Extinction have fought so hard in this series and honestly shown such great looks, but now they're on the edge of losing it all here to SSG, who've honestly been really solid, but haven't really had those ultimates forced out of them. They sat on 5 in the previous fight. It felt like a deterministic flashpoint win for them with how
this is the rush from Extinction, and like where's the follow-up?
I don't understand, genuinely. And I've covered this game for almost 10 years now, and I don't understand what is really going on here. Extinction, all right, need to show us a little bit more. King down, Sugar is able to win that Tracer duel. Vision, though, doing well despite all of this chaos. There's some consistency. There's the safe haven in the storm in this Sojourn play. Hawk flat there behind that shield. Vision delivering again and again. Keeps Extinction in the game. Not just in the game, but still with a legitimate chance to win it all.
Yes, Vision pushes up. He's really been kind of the standout player. Really in the DPS role, right? I know King has had some great moments, but it's really been Vision, you know, with the overclocks and the railgun shots that has, you know, come alive as they're trying to get Hitori out. Nice job using that speed boost to get her out of dodge. It's going to be the bola shot and then a connection there from Chronic that finishes off Scuffed.
Yeah, that's tough, but Extinction have this 52% accounting, so honestly, anything extra they get at this point is a bonus, considering the way the fight started. King chimes in and Chronica is down. This is going to slow this retake up for Space Station if it kind of even happens at this point. Sugar Free deals with King, and that really should open the floodgates now. Extinction will be forced off, but an admirable job, 80% or so, and they're going to get some extra credit here. As Tori stalls out, maybe deals up another annihilation.
You know, let's see how we'll kind of get on. Yep, build towards another beat. So you're going to get into like one fight territory here for Extinction. You're going to have double support all done both sides, and huge fight coming up. Dude, if Extinction can kind of get this to one flashpoint and decide it all, right? Ideally, you kind of like get out of this fight with one of these support ults, but most likely you're going to have just a big dump from both sides here. So I think if your Extinction is also better suited that you take the fight a little bit earlier rather than just kind of sitting around waiting for it to develop.
We need good ult economy, right? And I think it's not the worst thing just to beat and start a fight, right? You can be reactive, that's fine, but don't throw these away.
Here's the rush. They're trying to disengage.
Okay, that's based. That's super valid here. And they also... Oh,
and they don't.
I really thought they were going to they got out there, especially considering the Scuff can just swift step to where they need to go, and they're picked off for like the third.
Yeah, but now you might lose. Okay, so Hitori able to make it back to the health pack. That's massive. If you would have lost her, I mean, that is just a brutal way to lose a series.
9 deaths right now for Scuff. Not an egregiously high number compared to the rest of the team. Still not great. Extinction jumps back, Soundberry here, and also with the Kitsune Rush, so advantage in support ultimates. Extinction should win this fight by the numbers, but can they convert? Soundberry is being held onto by Lep here, and Hawk has that annihilation, and there's no May now to answer that guaranteed. Vigilance taken down, Sugar Free's able to isolate them off the corner of the map, and Hawk is looking healthy enough here, playing inside that vortex and basically ignoring it. It's both Ramatra staring each other down, menacingly on the point. As Space Station are seconds away from taking the map. If Extinction get off the point for any reason, they're done, but Sugar Free chimes in just where it's needed. A crucial 3 throw on the buzzer will get them ahead. Extinction able to fight back, and Lep and Chronic are down, but still Sugar Free is running roughshod through this Extinction lineup, and eventually Hitori has to succumb. It's a heartbreak result for Extinction as SSG snatch the series away at the 11th hour.
And for Extinction, I mean, to have to use the beat in the situation that you use it there, right? So far away from the objective, everybody on SSG able to just kind of like hightail it out and then save that left sound barrier for the end. I mean, that's kind of what determines series like this. It kind of comes all the way down to just that ultimate usage there, and
Sugar Free,
not ideal from Extinction. They'll be kicking themselves on that one. And Sugar Free, 35-1 here in Game 5.
Oh my god, that is ridiculous from Sugar Free. And yet the map was still a struggle. It was still brutal, back and forth. My god, it went the distance. Vision's Sojo and play it looked really solid at some points, but at some point, he went invisible. What are these damage numbers? How is it that Chronic is like 11k and Vision is still sucked down like 6 or 7? Jeez, the disparity in damage dealt it's palpable.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you see SSG really after that first flashpoint, like we're like, all right, we're not losing this one, right? They kind of kicked it into another gear, and even then though, Extinction was still kind of like hanging around in it, man. It's tough. I mean, that's a brutal loss there for Extinction. And I mean, look, they probably will obviously still kind of contend and be in our playoff, right? Providing they take care of business. But they had a huge opportunity here with this series against SSG that feel like they kind of gave away.
Yeah, I mean, earlier today we were talking about how that Team Liquid versus GK Esports game was the giga banger for NA, but this was the nail biter that I don't think anybody expected between Extinction and SSG. There were so many great moments, and it's heartbreaking. I feel like, Matt, you called back to it so many times. If that first map went a little bit differently over on Lijiang Tower, it could have been a completely different series.
They're in position to win that one, right? Like they kind of take it down. I mean, not even all of Lijiang Tower, Ash, like literally the first round where like Hawk is kind of going on a Doomfist to try and make it back, and like they somehow kind of give up that fight. I mean, obviously the rest of the series plays out a completely different way in that situation, but like you look back and like this series is decided by like a few moments, and that's really it.
And it's just, I don't know what it is in like the last moments of Surafasa. It's the backline of the supports rather of Extinction just getting picked off towards the end of the game. There's like, Matt, you pointed out, like there's a really rough beat for Alba, like forced timing. Scuffs got caught out at the end of the previous fight when they tried to disengage. Like this is how close this Extinction team are to being like a legitimate threat. It's just a couple of small refinements, but those are the things that make the difference against the team like SSG, who's really hard to kick down. Like if you let Lenny run 35-1 on you in this last map, and then your backline just, I don't know, like kind of hits the poo-poo platter in those last couple of fights, like you're in deep trouble. This May, it didn't really work out into the second flashpoint, and there was like a blizzard available. It gets just thrown away. Somehow SSG are allowed to build 5 ultimates, and all of a sudden they do like 25,000 unanswered damage over the next couple of flashpoints. These are the losses that hurt the most, I think, for a team like Extinction. You play up, you realize you can actually beat these top teams, these partnered teams, and then all of a sudden you lose your nerve. Maybe you just run out of gas.
Yeah.
Maybe you just fatigued and the mistakes start creeping in. But Matt said it perfectly. I hate saying this. Coming into this game, he said, I've got no issues with the tank or the 2 DPS on Extinction. I'm not sure about the supports. I'm not sure if they have that quality that they need to, contend with someone like SSG. And unfortunately, not their fault. Some of those moments there at the end of the map, like comms have to be on deck, but not a good look for them either, as it's specifically Scuffed and Alba that get put in awkward spots at the end of that Suravasa.
I mean, the Sugar Free just kind of picks off everybody at times, right? I mean, that's kind of what I was worried about. Like, and they kind of survived some of that aggression that comes through from SSG, and it feels like they were close, just not at the moments, Ash, where they're absolutely at the end. They must need it, right? A few fights in a row that get picked off, like you're having to use like a sound barrier kind of your spawn at like 99, and it's quite brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Mitch put it kind of perfectly. I really felt like at the end of Surabasa there that it felt like Extinction were so close to tasting victory up against SSG that they want it so bad in those final moments, and it starts to kind of crumble away. And that kind of added pressure. But those are also huge takeaways for a younger team, a greener team, to be able to learn from and add to their wealth of experience that they're getting playing up against teams like SSG. It is just honestly insane. I do wonder if, in a way, maybe SSG also underrated Extinction, kind of like we did, because of what happened before. Yeah.
These guys remind me of like last year's Nightmare Squad, that like no one, like everyone was sort of writing off, like no one thought they were like much good at all, and then all of a sudden, like they're at Champions Clash, like being the top NA team. I think the core of this team has so much potential. They're also proven, like they're proven results, like we've seen from like King and Vision over the past, Hitori as well. really solid stuff. You're running out of opportunities though to show what you're capable of. What? How many games do you have left? What, 2 more games? So it's there for the taking. You can definitely keep yourself out of this relegation zone. Yeah. But this one stings. This one's going to hurt tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah, it definitely is.
I mean, Ash, it's a brutal scenario, right? I mean, you look at like now, if they get to 2 and 3, right? You kind of knock SSG down to 4 and 2. Like you're in a position where you can kind of start to how do we get above Sakura and Nightmare, right? Now you're kind of just like, all right, well, we'll kind of stay above the kind of extinction line we have. We're going into relegation, you'll stay above that, but yeah, could have been a completely different stage, right? Wild turn.
Definitely could have been. I think that what's even more heartbreaking as well, on top of just being so close to that win for Extinction, is the fact that there's also that opportunity to have that chance to break into the top 4, try and avoid that lower bracket at the beginning of playoffs too, and make that run a little bit more feasible for them. But we do have a winner's interview waiting on the other side. We have Spacestation Gaming's Hawk just waiting for us, and I am excited to talk to him, especially about the next match that we're expecting to see into next week. Hawk, congratulations on the win tonight. I hope you're doing well. And I wanted to chat a little bit about the fight for second seed next week up against GK. They did actually have an end to their flawless run in today's matchup up against Team Liquid. And we talked to RuPaul earlier, and he mentioned how hard it is to prep up against GK, especially with how flexible Kaffa is as a tank player. And I was curious to see if you echo that sentiment, especially with the stylistic differences between the two of you, where you're very much so the off-tank specialist.
I think preparing for next week, we were kind of disappointed before the game today that GK didn't win. So we were really locked in, ready to go and trying to get the first seed. But when GK lost, we were you're a little okay, well, now it's impossible for us to get it first. But we're trying our best to get first there. We're trying our best. I mean, to get second seed, to beat them next week. I think matching up versus Kaffa, they play a lot of main tank and Ram, and as you can see from the match we just played, it's pretty difficult to force a player onto an off-tank hero, or force a player on a hero that's not Ramatra or Monkey or Ball. So that's a little bit of a problem for us as the meta begins to develop. But other than that, I think we are definitely comfortable going to next week.
I mean, I will ask you a little bit about this series, right? Because it's one where Extinction are picking in a couple of lesser played maps. We don't often see Gibraltar, New Queen Street sort of picked in a lot of these games, right? And frankly, it ends up being a bit of a scrappier game than we expected, knowing your caliber as a team. Does that match up with your expectations here? What's the vibe coming out of a game like that where you do win, but it ends up going to the wire?
I feel like we did expect a 3-0, but we played really bad on a couple maps, played some pretty bad comps on Gibraltar defense, in my opinion. And then honestly, New Queen Street, we played it bad individually, but I probably should have just gone Ramatra and just let my ego go and just played Ramatra and got it done. But other than that, when we mirrored them on the last map, it was pretty good. I think maybe we underestimated them a little bit, but at the same time, I don't want to give excuses for us, but we've had a pretty bad scrim week in terms of cancellations and the meta developing a lot while we were not playing. A lot of people are playing more Ramatra, a lot of less Ball in the region, a lot of Sigma being played for some reason. So the meta is developing a lot, and I don't think we could play exactly what we've been playing prior to this match.
Hawk, it's great to see you again, buddy. But I gotta ask, what's been the hardest? I mean, you can see me. I have an idea what you look like, but
great that you can see him, Hawk, is what.
Yeah. Great that you can see me. But I gotta ask, what's been the biggest adjustment or hurdle? Obviously, you take some time off and then come back and just kind of jump into the mix. So it's been the toughest thing to kind of get situated in again.
Honestly, I was really surprised that the game was still exactly the same, but honestly just way easier. And I think the competition has kind of stayed the same, or maybe gotten a little easier since last time I played, because Toronto was really, really good. They were really, really hard to beat. But I think the game kind of stayed the same. Like it's still Lucio Curie, it's still that ground tank. You're still like at a disadvantage, like playing the off tanks on all these maps versus the main tanks. So like the game kind of stayed the same. I play a lot of ranked, and I don't know. Like it's really been. It didn't feel like I was gone for very. I mean, I was gone for like 15 months, but at the same time, it feels like the game didn't really change. Like that's how I would describe it.
Fair enough. It's still Overwatch at the end of the day, right? But thank you so much for the interview, Hawk. It was great getting the chance to chat with you. And I hope that your guys' flow as far as scrims doesn't get interrupted heading into next week's matchup up against